But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
I don't know whether rockets or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. They were too fast to be okay.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
Doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's up, guys? It is Monday, which is one of the days we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. We do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific. And what are those things we're not allowed to talk about? Yeah, you know. You already know. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. This show's live. This show's always been live. This show will always be live because, of course, our secret weapon is you. That's right, you. And that means as we stream live on Rockfin, DLive, YouTube, and Twitter, and broadcast live on the Fringe FM, we're taking your phone calls tonight, as every show, because, of course, well, we don't hide. We like to have a conversation. And the philosophy behind this is we like to talk about weird things, and if they can be possible, and we do something called drinking the maybe juice. All right, now that's a nice little way to put that we like to suspend our disbelief and consider things that may or may not be true, but they're definitely out there as kind of in the zeitgeist and in mythology and in ufology and that type of stuff, right? It's out there. It exists. People are talking about these things. People are making these sorts of claims. And so we get together and we talk about all kinds of stuff. And that's what's up. So if you want to be part of the show tonight, everything is fixed and working. There's literally zero technical issues. And if you want to be part of it tonight, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can also find us at troubledminds.org. That's the official website. Phone number is there. The Discord link is there. We're also running a Discord server, a couple of them actually. So please join the Discord if you have not. It's a chat client. It's a voice client, and it is it's free. I mean, it's free. it's amazing because it's free, and it's a good program, and you can meet new people there. And we use it to do a talk show. The youngsters are using it to play video games. We use it to do a talk show because you can do different things, can't you? So do join the Discord, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. Also, fringe.fm/chat will give you a direct invite to the Discord there. I'm watching all of it. I'm watching all the chats in all the places, so I can make sure to say hello as appropriate, and I'll say hi to you guys during the commercial breaks. But okay, so what we're doing tonight now, this one's a little bit weird. This one is I don't know. I'm not sure if this is an old story, to be perfectly honest. It seems like it is because it goes back. It goes back a ways, back to the original, the OG UFO story, all right? Not the first UFO story in history, but let's say the first modern UFO story that really kicked off the entire mythology. And what that means is, you know it, you've heard it, you're probably familiar with it, very familiar maybe, is Roswell, New Mexico. You guys remember that? 1947. Probably not a lot of people here that were still alive in 1947, or still alive now, I mean, because that was a long time ago. That was a long, long time ago. And we're talking the end of World War II, right after the Roswell crash in 47. That was in July, by the way. They instituted something known as the National Security Act in September. So the very next month, suddenly they decided that all the information that came through needed to be funneled in some sort of way for national security implications. All right. And so it's really the beginning of a government that was sort of really fumbling with how do we control information. And because, of course, if everybody knows, the Roswell crash, Major Jesse Marcel took the photograph in the newspaper with the tinfoil saying that, this was not a UFO crash as previously reported. This was a weather balloon. And if there are any bodies that were alien bodies discovered, that's not the thing either. They were dummies, test dummies, as part of our weather balloon experiment, which makes absolutely no sense, of course. And as usual, right, these stories grow and change over the years, and all kinds of weirdness here. But I don't know. So going back to Roswell, just Roswell itself, that's when this story begins. Because, of course, the most outrageous claims regarding Roswell were that there were just maybe, an extraterrestrial flying saucer had crashed. A vehicle, an off-world vehicle, a UFO, whatever you want to call it, right, had crashed in Roswell back in July of 1947. And then, as a result of this, there was a huge media storm. The media frenzy, we've all seen the newspaper headlines, UFO crashes, Air Force is there to investigate, all the rest of this stuff. So it's a little strange to me that, they're both sides of the story they seem to be outlandish. First, outlandish that, a UFO crashed and they had deceased alien bodies, or let's say injured and dying alien bodies, which we're going to get to tonight, by the way, because there's been some claims. There have been some claims. What's up, guys? All right, so then the other side of the story seems to be equally ridiculous in that, they said it was a weather balloon and said that any word of bodies were scrubbed from the official story, or again, as official statements came out later. As far as I recall, it was bodies. It was crash test dummies or something like this, right? Okay. Annie Jacobson has said it possibly was some sort of craft from the Soviet Union at the time, and it was an experimental thing, and they put little kids in there to scare us or something, like genetically modified children or something to this effect. There's been a whole lot of speculation on this Roswell incident and where it goes and what happens with it. And so tonight we have a little bit more of a weird one. There's a claim that's been made, and again, I'm not sure if this is a kind of just coming around for the first time. I've never heard this myself until recently, and at the beginning of October of this year, just a couple 3 weeks ago, this story started popping out in Twitter and on some of the UFO sites that I follow, and I wasn't sure if this was new or if this regurgitated or if this was something that was an old story, or I don't know, maybe. And again, as always, right, when you drink the maybe juice, you have to consider that you may have been fooled, right? That we may have been fooled all along. with either story or somewhere in between, okay? And so when I saw this, at first I was like, yeah, right, whatever, no chance, I'm kind of not going to pay attention. But it seems to persist. It seems to come back. People are still writing about this. And we've got an article that just hit again describing what we're going to be talking about tonight, which, of course, is that just after the infamous Roswell crash with the supposed flying saucer back in 1947, that they called for one Albert Einstein and flew him to the United States to actually inspect these alien bodies and the UFO crash itself. Yes, that is correct. You heard me right. That Albert Einstein. Okay? And so, of course, we don't have this as a first-hand account from Mr. Einstein himself. This account comes from a student of his who supposedly tagged along and was there and saw the Roswell craft and saw alien bodies and the whole bit, saw the whole production, tons of people there by her description. It was parked in a hangar, and this thing was damaged. There were alien bodies. And she makes amazing other claims, including that there were other alien craft as well. So we'll get to some of that stuff. I've got her statements actually on audio here. And, well, that's what we're going to do tonight. That's what's on my mind. So a few questions. What do you know about Roswell, New Mexico? And do you believe aliens actually crashed there in 1947? All right, that's the first question. Do you believe this is real? Or do you believe it's some other sort of disinformation campaign coming from, who knows, the government or Russia or some intermediate, I don't know, breakaway civilization, as people have suggested in the past? And I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but you tell me. That's the first question. Like, what do you think about this Roswell, New Mexico crash? Was it a weather balloon? Was it aliens? Was it somewhere in between? That's the first question I have on my mind tonight. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because we haven't really ever, which it seems funny and odd to me, that we've never really talked about the Roswell crash in depth on this show. Very, kind of mentioned it sporadically here or there, but never really dug deep into this. And so it's not really the spot tonight to really do that in particular, because once again, it's in the periphery of that story, we have some claims, all right? And so we're going to look at those claims and look at where they came from, and even hear some audio from the individual that was supposedly there, describing aliens, describing the flying saucer, describing the crash, and describing everything else. So, well, that's what's going on. So do you believe this? Do you believe that Albert Einstein himself was actually summoned to Roswell in 1947 in light of a UFO crash to inspect these things? And if so, well, what do you know about it? Have you ever heard about this? Is this the first time you're hearing about this? Is this an old story that maybe missed me over the years? It's impossible for me to know it all, by the way. Obviously, you know that. I'm only one person. But the thing is that if you start considering that this is true or possible, then, well, it starts to make my mind wonder if, okay, think about it. Just think about it in a vacuum, all right? Let's say that Roswell happened today, all right? And let's say they were able to cover it up and tell us, oh, nothing to see here. It's a weather balloon. They've got the National Security Act, the CIA, all the stuff, right? Let's say they were able to scrub it off of social media by the draconian fangs of Facebook and the other technocrats that are going to just scrub it from the world and drop it down to 1/1,000,000th in the search engine results. Then, okay, sure, fine. Let's say they were able to do that. But then think about it. Would they or would they not call some very intelligent and notable scientists to come take a look and see what the hell was going on, right? I would think so. I think the story in itself, just out of the basis of whatever's happening, is decently plausible, because Einstein at the time was, of course, a top mind. So it's a little bit weird to me that, something like that wouldn't be that far-fetched. Probably more far-fetched to say that they had, dead alien bodies or that type of thing. But if they did, I think it is just to take the next step and say, well, would they try and get really smart people to look at this stuff and maybe help them figure out what the heck was going on? I don't think so. I don't think, if you believe that aliens crashed in Roswell in 1947, I think describing Einstein as being summoned as a consultant of sorts isn't too far a stretch beyond that. So that's what's on my mind tonight. I think they would do it. I think that, they would try and, despite all costs, just get people they needed there. And funny enough, if you look at that Indiana Jones movie, you guys, the Crystal Skull, you guys seen that? So in the beginning of that, they actually did that with Indiana Jones as a top archaeologist, right? They came and they grabbed him, and as he described it, they threw him in a bus in the desert, blacked out windows, and drove out to some place where, yeah, there was a crash. And not just a crash, it was a UFO crash, and there were alien bodies. So interesting that, well, basically that premise right there is exactly what we're talking about, except Albert Einstein in the place of Indiana Jones. So, well, there you go. If you want to really shotgun some maybe juice, as described in the chat there, then, well, that's what we're doing tonight. And considering that fact, or that claim, let's say, do you believe that maybe, just maybe, Albert Einstein was summoned to take a look at the Roswell crash? And where did these claims come from? So that's what's on my mind tonight. Like I said, love to hear your thoughts on this. If you've heard this before, what you believe about Roswell or not, were there aliens? Was it just something else? Who knows? And there we go. There we go. What's up, Matt in the chat says, calling the best of the best. And I agree. I think it makes sense that they would do that. So again, like I said, if you believe aliens crashed, I think summoning Albert Einstein to come take a look wouldn't be that far out of the imagination at that point. So anyway, so let's look at where this actual claim comes from, and let's do it. Let's do it. Looking at the chat, seeing you guys out there. What's up? Thanks for hanging out. All right, so let's do this. Let's go to this article. This was sent by Robert. What's up, Robert, out there in Pennsylvania? How you doing, buddy? I saw this. I've been keeping an eye on this, and here's another article. October 21st, this thing came out. They're still talking about it. So here we go. I'm going to link it in the chat, and you guys can follow along if you prefer. But this is the claim. And it is a pretty explosive claim because it's assuming not just that Albert Einstein showed up to Roswell, but he showed up to examine alien bodies. And that's the weirdness here. So here we go. Drop in the link in the chat. Thank you, Robert, for sharing this with us tonight. And I'll come say hi to you guys in a moment at commercial time. But okay, so this is where this starts. This is reported by the Pulse.1. And, of course, this has been reported by lots of different websites at this point. It hasn't blown up as of yet, but it's recircling. It's resurfacing. Like I said, I think this may be an old story. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like I said, I don't know everything, and that's just the way it is. So if this is an old story and you've heard this before, I'd love to hear from you tonight. All right, so this is the headline. Einstein's student claims both were taken to examine Roswell craft and beings. Yep, not beans, beings. Entities, all right? Easier to say entities and not sound like you're saying beans. Here we go. In brief, here are the facts, right from this article on the Pulse One. The facts. Dr. Shirley Wright, Ph.D., a student of Albert Einstein at Princeton, claims she was taken along with Einstein to examine the crashed craft from the Roswell UFO incident. She also says that they communicated with these entities before they died. All right. Now, what should we reflect on according to the Pulse article here? What are the implications of this type of information if it's true? And this crash happened in 1947. How much more has been discovered to this day? And there we go. That's where we begin this conversation tonight, that we have a claim by Dr. Shirley Wright, Ph.D., that was indeed confirmed a student of Albert Einstein's. Okay? So that part is irrefutable fact, absolute fact. It's in her obituary, as a matter of fact, that she was a student of Albert Einstein's. Okay? So that's the part you can't shake. All right? But then it's one thing if you hear a claim and you're like, well, I don't know. This seems outlandish. Well, let's just hear as she begins to describe this in her own words. This is Dr. Shirley Wright, Ph.D., who actually was a student of Albert Einstein at Princeton. And here you go. Here's what she had to say about this situation.
All I recall is several people using the word Roswell, and that must be where the crash occurred then, and then they brought them to the other place. It looked like at an airport facility where there was like a rather good-sized building, a hangar, where they had the spaceship and where they had the bodies.
Was it an intact ship?
No, it was badly damaged.
Was there anything written on the ship?
No, not anything I saw. No. Not by the time I saw it.
Can you describe what it looked like? Did you touch the...
Yeah, they didn't let me do that, but the other people were permitted to do that because they were very curious about knowing what kind of materials they were. The body of the ship was... The body of the ship was what I would call today rather a reflective material, but when you looked at it and you were close to it, it was rather dull. So it had to be energetically reflective or translucent or glowing. And it was disc-shaped, and it was not too high. It was sort of concave, you know.
How big was it?
Oh, gee, let me see. It was, I'm very bad at large room, and it was easily 1/4 the size of the room it was in.
Okay, all right. So once again, the clip we heard, and now this is the strange part, right? Like you never actually hear specifically anybody speak directly about the crash at Roswell. And yet here we have this individual by the name of Dr. Shirley Wright, who supposedly visited the Roswell crash scene and, of course, then the follow-up to where they were storing the flying saucer. And she's describing this in detail as a first-hand witness, that she went there with Albert Einstein because they summoned him to take a look at this, and he brought his student, Shirley Wright. And there's more. There's a whole bunch of audio here from her and her direct story of actually being there. And that's why I'm surprised that this hasn't been really kind of had the lid blown off of it and at least gone, you know, super clickbait type stuff. Because is this true? You know, you have this woman. She doesn't sound crazy. She sounds like pretty matter of fact, discussing the incident, what happened when she was there, why they called her, right? Why she was there. She was there with Albert Einstein. He took one of his students along with him. Presumably, she was a top student at Princeton. So it's hard to say, right? What exactly is going on with this? And yeah, I don't know. As always, what do you think? Do you think that this is plausible? And the audio, you'll see, like she describes it as this crash was the thing was the saucer was not in good shape. It was not intact. It was badly damaged. And she's going to get into some more explosive stuff as she goes here. Yeah, she's passed away, actually. So maybe that could be. I'll take a look at that. But so, yeah, in her obituary, let's see. Real quick, we can find... I'll find that information during the break. But yeah, it's here in the articles. So she did pass away recently, at least in the last 10, 15 years. And it is strange that now suddenly this audio exactly is surfacing. I've never heard this before. And my head's been pretty deep into a bunch of different rabbit holes, especially regarding aliens and this type of thing. So I wonder why this is kind of coming out now. And you hear her just plain as day saying, I was there. I saw the UFO. It was in bad shape. It was a very large thing, and she's got more to tell. So we'll play some more audio clips as we go tonight. But what I want to hear is your thought on this. Why do you think it's coming about now? Why do you think it's true? That's probably the most notable thing here. Do you think this is actually possibly even remotely true? Because if it is, doesn't it change everything? I would think so, because we have an actual eyewitness to the Roswell crash, at least the direct aftermath of it, and describing not just the crash itself, but as you'll see, they were able to contact and communicate with these aliens before they passed away. So, well, what do you think? Is that enough baby juice for you tonight? Well, love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Love to hear your thoughts on Einstein visiting the Roswell crash. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds after the break. All right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, DLive, YouTube, and Twitter. And we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. We're taking your phone calls. Do you believe that Albert Einstein visited the site of the Roswell crash and subsequently investigated the craft and even met aliens himself? That's what some of these claims are, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And you can also join the Discord at troubledminds.org. What do you guys think? Is it too much maybe juice to try and link the Times top mind with, the most infamous UFO crash in history? Or do you think that it makes perfect sense that they would call Dr. Albert Einstein to actually take a look at the Roswell crash? So we got more audio to play, but let's go to, it looks like our good friend Mike in Colorado. What's up? Welcome to the show. How are you, my man?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you, Mike?
A-okay. just a shotgun and some.
I love the
juice.
topic.
I appreciate it. What are your thoughts here? What about this Roswell and Einstein stuff?
I got to tell you, it's, for me personally, it's a lifetime Mandela effect.
Okay, meaning what? Please explain.
Is my cell cutting out?
No, you're here. I heard you perfectly. Please explain.
Okay, so it never happened in our old reality, and now we're experiencing it as a thing that was never a thing. Because if Albert Einstein had gone to Roswell, it would have been out in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s with all these researchers. This can't be new information. It's like virtually impossible for it to be new information. So from where I'm sitting, it's a lifetime Mandela effect.
Okay, so I kind of agree that this is one of those ones that's really difficult to cover up. Especially when they straight up reported right off the bat it was a crashed flying saucer. So after that, clearly I think this is where the entire conspiracy world pretty much began, right? I mean, the National Security Act, the CIA was created just a month after. They started lying about everything, the government, But then Albert Einstein, so there have been some researchers here who have suggested they tried to look into his calendar to see where he was right around this time, right after the crash. And as for right now, the information seems to be inconclusive. Nobody can actually pinpoint him in Roswell just after this crash. So, yeah, I'm with you, man. You'd figure this would be news, at least. I don't know, if he disappeared and went to the United States right after this happened. I mean, it did make worldwide news at the time, didn't it?
It did, yeah. And I'll tell you, growing up in the 70s and 80s, there were thousands of research UFO conventions and people like that. Area 51 was huge, 70s, 80s, 90s. Somebody would have uncovered this. So for it to show up in our reality right now, to me, it's like the Black Tom apparent terrorist attack that I never heard of. And Black Tom was on Black Tom Island in World War I, was the first terrorist attack on the U.S. I've never heard of it. So it's kind of like that to me. And I'm witnessing you bringing this to me, so it's kind of freaky, but I appreciate the fact that you found this and that you're willing to share this, which is why we love Troubled Minds.
Thank you. You're too kind. You're too kind. I just see what is presented before me. And Robert, shout out to Robert. He's the guy who pushed this article out today. I've been watching it. I saw it in the beginning of October, but it was too out there. I was like, come on, really? No. But maybe you're right. Maybe this was one of those timeline sort of things where we had a slip and things changed. And, among other things, maybe this was one of them. I love the theory, man. What else do you have on this regarding, do you think there were aliens at Roswell, or do you think it's something else going on here?
I personally think we live in an enclosed system to where if they were alien, they would have to be interdimensional, and they could have a ship and they could have crashed. But as far as the X-Files truth is out there, yeah, I'm not in that camp.
Okay, fair enough. So possibly interdimensional, otherwise not from like Alpha Centauri or something.
Probably not. From the stuff that I believe I know. I mean, how do you know, right? 2020 was supposed to be the time when we could see clearly, which was not true. And 2021 seems to be the inverse of everything.
Yes.
To where, truth is fiction, fiction is truth. And so I'm, honestly, if you had to nail me down and say, tell me what this is, I have no idea. I have some ideas, but I couldn't tell you what I think it is because I really am clueless. So did they come from Alpha Centauri? Maybe. Do I think this is possible? No. So, you know what I mean? And I know that sounds wishy-washy, and I hate the fact that I sound wishy-washy about that, but that's where we're at right now.
It's all good. I don't know either. I mean, that's part of the premise of the conversations here is how can you know? You'd have to be there, right? You'd have to be intimately familiar with the details and maybe know Einstein personally to even have a hint that this might be true. So I'm with you, man. I'm not willing to buy off on this yet either, even though we have an eyewitness, which we'll play some more clips from her. She says some pretty astounding things. But you're amazing, my man. Everybody follow Algorithm on YouTube. If you scroll down to the bottom of our YouTube channel, he's linked down there as Friends of Troubled Minds. Please go give Mike a follow over there. He's doing God and fantastic stuff. I appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for calling in. And have a fantastic
thanks, brother.
Thanks, bro. Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, we'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Thanks, man. That's Mike in Colorado. Good stuff as always. Again, follow him on YouTube, please. His name's Algorithm. 2 words, just like it sounds. Algo and RYTHM, just like it sounds. Okay. All right. Yeah. So okay. Now the thing is this. This is what we're describing tonight. This is what we're discussing. Reported by the Pulse. Stout 1. Einstein student claims both were taken to examine Roswell craft and aliens, all right, and the beings. Okay, great call, Algo. Appreciate that, my friend. Okay, so let's go. Let's play one more clip here as we squeeze some of these in. Still looking to hear from you. I'd rather hear you guys. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. TroubledMinds.org. Click the Discord link at the website, and we'll put you on the show. All right, let's go to this part 2. This is his actual student that goes by the name of Dr. Shirley Wright that passed away in 2015, July 1st, 2015. Here's her obituary, and this interview she gave with this stuff we're talking about appears to have happened back in 1993-ish, somewhere in that range. Okay, so here we go. Let's play part 2 of this and action.
Were you able to go inside?
No, I wanted to, but the others did go inside. Yeah, they went inside. I was not permitted to do that. Not being one of the upper echelon. I was just one of the gophers, going for this, going for that. I was nobody. But they went inside. They also wanted to see the method of propulsion. They were interested to see. They wanted to see if they had any other types of control devices or communication devices, or what kind of even things they had for the journey. In other words, if they had come such a long distance, how were they able to do that, and so forth. What you and I would call food or respiratory gases, what did they use? They were very interested in identifying that.
What it looked like in...
Some of them told me, yes, and it's very much, oddly, like a lot of science fiction movies today. A lot of equipment, very trim, all along the perimeter. Things that would come up from the floor automatically, pods that would come out, things like that.
Can you tell us a little bit about the beings and communicated empathic? What kind of information was given? Did they ask you anything, and did you ask them anything?
It was both ways. We asked them several questions, and they asked us several questions. Not myself individually, or me particularly, but the people I was with. They wanted to know. They wanted to know how long we lived.
Okay, so now once again, this seems out there to me. We've got an actual supposed eyewitness of the Roswell crash, and not the crash itself, but the aftermath. and the damaged saucer or spacecraft or whatever it was. Plus, we have this individual by the name of Dr. Shirley Wright, who was an actual confirmed student of Albert Einstein, discussing what it looked like on the ground as this damaged spacecraft was in a hangar, and they were trying to communicate with these damaged and dying alien entities, right? Like, what the heck is this? So she's describing not just the craft, she's describing some sort of telepathic sort of back and forth between these aliens, and she says explicitly one of the things they wanted to know is how long people live, how long humans live. And as you'll see, there's more of this. Love to hear your thoughts. Do you believe that Albert Einstein actually was whisked away secretly and brought to the United States to take a look at, the Roswell crash and all the rest of this? This is pretty nuts, right? Yeah. Okay. What do we got? Let's see. All right. Let's jam another one of these clips in, because this is too good to have an eyewitness from Roswell actually describing what was going on as they were trying to figure out, get to the bottom of the alien crash here. Again, Roswell, 1947. Supposedly, they summoned Albert Einstein to go take a look, and he brought his student, one of his students, and this is his student in her own words, Dr. Shirley Wright, and this was back in approximately 1993 she gave this interview. So here we go, part 3, as she's described the crash, the aliens themselves, and she now communication, a back and forth with the aliens. Here we go, action.
They wanted to know if there were some conditions that terminated what we call, quote unquote, our life. In other words, what you and I would consider diseases or stresses on our body to terminate our life. They asked, let me see if I can remember. Thought I'd never forget some of this. I don't know why my mind is so blank on some of these things. They asked a lot of the scientists what was their best system of going out into the atmosphere or going into the ocean, and how deeply we had penetrated galaxies, things like that. And of course, they were very quick to let us know that we didn't know anything. They did not menace us or threaten us at all, because they knew right away we were intellectually inferior and scientifically inferior.
Then how was it that they crashed? Was there any information about that? If they have such technology, how is it that...
Something had gone wrong, and that was one of the major things that we asked them. We asked them what they ate. We asked them what kind of gases they needed. We asked them about their life support, their origin. We asked them what they used for propulsion. We asked them what there was, things like that. And we asked them what they thought went wrong. And why they were, first of all, even coming here. Why did they come to visit us?
Okay, there you go. So she's describing an actual back and forth exchange with dying extraterrestrials. Actually, they're damaged, they're hurt, the ship crashed. She's trying to in the exchange back and forth in this communication back in, again, 1947. This is the infamous Roswell crash. Okay, she's trying to describe what that conversation looked like, because supposedly, allegedly, reportedly, this is the topic tonight. They brought Albert Einstein out to take a look at this beat-up craft and possibly communicate with the aliens. And he brought a student, and her name, of course, is exactly who we're listening on these clips, Dr. Shirley Wright, who passed away in 2015, and this interview was done approximately 1993. So now that's the thing, right? Again, the details are a little bit sketchy, because how would you know? Noah, what's up, Madib? I think the thing is they were communicating telepathically, is how she kind of described it. Okay. So I don't know. You guys tell me. Do you believe this is a real thing? Do you believe this is just more clickbait for 2021, where the world is upside down and we're just throwing out all kinds of ideas because, well, why not? Let's maybe the next one will be they resurrected what's his name, Tesla, and brought him to inspect this as well. You know what I'm saying? If you want to really, really drink a lot of maybe juice, who knows? And this is the stuff I'm talking about. I kind of don't know. Is this possible? Is this an actual thing, or is this just a bunch of BS? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. Let's hear another clip. It's pretty fascinating hearing what is supposedly and possibly probably the only firsthand account in their own words of what happened after the Roswell crash. So we'll play that in just a sec because we got a phone call coming in. But what are your thoughts? Do you think this is all just some sort of clickbait BS, or do you think it's possible they would have actually called Albert Einstein himself to come visit the site and the aftermath of the Roswell UFO crash? Love to hear your thoughts. One more time, 702-957-1037. Let's go to our good buddy Joe in Florida. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
I'm okay. How's everybody doing tonight?
Hey, okay, my man. What are your thoughts? Go right ahead. Einstein at Roswell?
Well, what was curious about that last clip you played was she mentioned they asked about the oceans. And I know on more than one occasion on this show, some of us think that they live in the ocean. So I was curious that she said that in the 90s, I believe, if I heard you correctly.
Yep.
Which kind of makes me go, the last caller said closed system. Yeah, I guess, because, like I said, in my opinion, the speed of light's kind of the barrier. So unless you can defeat the speed of light by a wormhole or another dimension, I kind of think that they're already here. And I think Roswell happened. I think a lot of us on the show believe that the technological explosion happened a few years later, or maybe quite a few years later, was a result of that. I was reading something about the SR-71, the Blackbird, and that plane was around in the 60s. And when you look at that plane now, it looks like it could have came off, the manufacturing line today in 2021. So that technology was probably gotten. They researched it as much as they could. They gave the military-industrial complex its own head start, and then they started to release things for civilian use. I think the crash happened. As far as that lady, why haven't we heard this before? I'm just kind of curious. The idea of a Mandela effect is kind of a neat idea, because I thought I knew everything about Roswell, and here we go with some audio. That to me sounds pretty credible. If it's closed loop system, they could be in the bottom of the ocean. They could be up by the moon. So those are my thoughts.
Okay. What about Einstein being there? You think that's a plausible twist in this, or you think no way, Jose?
Einstein shows up in a lot of things. Einstein shows up supposedly with Tesla. The story is varied, but with the USS Eldridge in the Philadelphia experiment and trying to warp light. If he was there, I'm kind of curious that he didn't have a deathbed confession, and maybe I'm wrong, because a lot of these people have deathbed confessions. I don't know why this woman would come out in the 90s and say these things, and maybe she had nothing left to lose, maybe she made it up for publicity, maybe she needed money. Doesn't seem that way. But what does bother me is, if he was being whisked away for something of high security, how would he be allowed to bring a student?
Yeah, well, especially him, that's one thing. But what about just a random student? She talks about later in these recordings. I don't think we'll be able to get to them all during the couple hours here. But she discusses, the reporter that's interviewing her asked if she had any sort of credentials necessary or any sort of clearance to have to be able to show up. And she said, no. Like, I was with Einstein and that was enough, right? And so it's like, that doesn't seem legit, does it?
Yeah. That doesn't seem legit, and I'll tell you what I would base my experience on. I remember years ago I did a funeral on a family member, and the grandkids, was either the great-grandkids or the grandkids came to me, and they said that they heard stories that their granddad would be whisked away in the middle of the night for, I believe it was Ohio, one of the first nuclear reactors for power. I think it was in Ohio. I don't remember the whole story. But the government would come top secretly. You can't take your family. You can't take anybody. They would put you in a car, get you on a plane, and you were basically trying to stop a meltdown. And I just remember that, and that, you know, hearing these sound clips, always remember, you know, I was thinking about that particular case that I had where they actually had pictures, the family had brought in pictures of the nuclear rods and the construction of the sarcophagus at this reactor. Again, I believe it was in Ohio. So, you know, you playing those sound clips made me think of that. And the family was like, it was top secret stuff. You know, top secret. So I'm thinking to myself, how would this woman be able to go? But on the other end of it, she mentions the oceans, which piqued my interest. Because I think these things are in the ocean or on the moon.
Yeah. So
if they're actually flying here, people would see them on telescopes, amateur telescopes.
Exactly right, and there would I think there would just be more straight evidence. I'm with you. I don't think light years, you know, millions of light years type travel is the way, unless clearly they're, you know, creating wormholes, and that's a whole nother thing, right? But yeah, I'm with you, man. I kind of agree in that if aliens are here, it's probable. We have some sort of maybe interdimensionary sort of situation, or maybe ultra-terrestrials, as they said, that have been here forever, maybe living underground. And interestingly, we may not get to it, but she even alludes to the fact that they were surprised that so many humans lived above ground. We'll get to that as part of the interview. So as that maybe they were some sort of maybe subterranean dwelling race.
My last thought. I mean, what would happen if the moon was purposely shifted just a little bit? Do you think we would have the same floods we had in the Bible all over the world?
Maybe. I like,
you know, and if somebody was up there watching the whole time, and they wanted to wipe this place out to start again, what would you need to do to make that happen?
I think it's like an advanced extraterrestrial race. Not much. Not much at all. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Joe, you're the best. I appreciate the call, my friend. We're out of time. Thank you so much.
Have a good night, guys.
Thanks, bro. You too. You too. Be safe out there.
Bye-bye.
That's Joe in Florida. All right. So what we're talking about tonight is Albert Einstein. All right. These claims are being made that he was whisked away with a student of his. He chose her because she was his assistant at the time, is what I'm reading here in the chat, which I believe is true from the articles here. And so they brought him and a student to Roswell in the aftermath of the alien supposed crash. All right. They wanted him to take a look at it. They wanted him to help. And well, yeah, here we are trying to figure out truth or fiction. What do you believe? Was Einstein whisked away with his assistant to view the Roswell aftermath? And as we're hearing in this interview, these clips from about 1993, do you think they communicated with dying extraterrestrials? That's what I want to know. If you want to be part of the show tonight, hang tight. We'll be right with you. Jennifer, thanks for being patient. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Don't go anywhere. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. More after the break. We are talking about the alien abduction phenomenon.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing fantastic. through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. Random images as they traverse neurons in the brain.
Alright, so maybe
and they also feel them planting.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Alright, good evening. Welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and this show is about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. You know it, aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, and more. We are streaming on Rockband, D-Live, YouTube, and Twitter. We are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM, and we're taking your phone calls. If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And we're discussing this claim that suddenly seems to have traction in October 2021. Einstein's student claims both were taken to examine Roswell craft and beings. Yes, entities from the Roswell crash, the infamous Roswell crash. Yeah, we're talking about UFOs, we're talking about crashed saucers, we're talking about dying extraterrestrials. And of course, this individual goes by the name of Dr. Shirley Wright, and she's describing communicating with dying extraterrestrials as they exchanged information. So what do you think? That's the question on my mind tonight. If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. You think this is probable, unlikely, or somewhere in between? Give us a call. All right, let's go to Jennifer in Missouri. Thank you for being patient with us, Jennifer. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike.
Good evening.
Yeah, so the first impression is that I've never heard that Einstein was at Roswell, so kind of like Aldo and Joe, it's kind of, that's why I think it's a little off-putting at first, you know, because you're like, I never heard that Einstein was there. This is the first I've ever heard of that. But then you put that aside because there's someone saying that he was and that they saw him there and that they have testimony for it. So then the next step is to listen to what she said. This is where I'm kind of going with it, regardless of what I guess what I think about him being there. If I consider why he might be there, the creatures themselves, if they have traveled from somewhere far away, he was, the expert on space-time travel and speed of light and all of that. So I guess being such a big deal, Roswell must have been one of the most, at that time, if it happened, as it said, one of the most unbelievable modern, phenomena. So they would want to bring him in, I suppose, along with the other ones. And I'll just put that aside. Now, the woman, the Dr. Wright, what she's saying then, which is the next thing, is just what incredible things she's saying and what we can glean from that, I think. She says that they spoke telepathically, and that's interesting. So I think that would insinuate they can't speak with their mouths, possibly. I've heard something about this before. They have the enlarged skull or the enlarged heads, insinuating possibly like an enormous brain or something like that. And then a diminutive mouth due to like a lack of use or something. So they weren't using their mouths, and due to lack of use, the mouth became unimportant, and so would vocal cords, possibly. I'm not saying they couldn't make noise at all, but so then they're communicating telepathically. And this is interesting too, people, that they were speaking English was something that was brought up. I don't know that telepathically they would have to even be speaking English, perhaps. if they had like mental impressions to put across, maybe we translate the impressions that they're implanting in the mind, the way that they communicate, and we do the translation into our own tongue, basically, so we can communicate to anyone through pushing past into the mind the message they're trying to convey. Some of the questions, like how long did we live, and were there events that would cause us to not be living anymore? I feel like that it's like saying that they don't know, like they don't know very much about us, and then asking if we can get out of the atmosphere yet is really strange. Though they've come from somewhere, like asking us that as if they don't know, or perhaps they can't or haven't gotten out of the atmosphere is just the edge I'm thinking on it. And this could, just my personal theory, but perhaps that they came from somewhere. Now, many people have postulated the idea that there's like more land, more earth, a hollow earth, an under earth, just earth extending on an infinite plane, that kind of idea. Perhaps they figured out how to go over vast spaces of land, over, across great distances in some way, but can't go out. And so it might be saying that they've come from somewhere very far away, like a land far, far away, which just sounds silly, but could be. And that they've come here and they see that there's people here, and then they've crashed. Maybe at first they were just observing or surprised that they've made it, But, yeah, it's really strange because that would insinuate that they don't know. And then that they notice, and then the insinuation, too, of how long, does life last for your species, I suppose, insinuates that they, too, have that they do have a perception of time, space-time. And that's odd. And then I wonder how long, obviously they died of mortal injuries, so they're alive. They're not ethereal. So it's bizarre. So I'm just thinking, since she's out there saying this, we might as well listen to what she says and then take what we can and add it to our catalog of interesting information that may eventually add up to a bigger picture making sense. But it doesn't sound like they came from outer space. It doesn't sound like they've been watching humanity in any way. And that's just my opinion, There's that many different species that have. But yeah, it's really bizarre. And as far as Einstein being there with somebody who didn't have credentials to be there, I mean, if she was just a colleague of Einstein's, she could have been there taking notes, and then, or who knows, or just his assistant, literally just bringing him his coffee or something. I don't know, his personal assistant of some kind, or his protege. I don't know. And but she might have been signed on to some kind of where she could not speak about it. And James mentioned that in the chat, that she might have been held to some kind of, binding contract of not revealing classified information for a certain amount of time. And that could be why. And as far as Einstein being kept out of it, it is bizarre because it seems like that would have come out. But I mean, that's what might as well just take it as it is and then, see what there is to gain out of it.
Yeah. So have you heard of this before, or is this the first time you're hearing of Einstein possibly at Roswell?
I have never heard of Einstein being at Roswell, ever. But it's like when Algo was like, maybe it's like the Mandela thing. It's like, yep, like I've never heard of that. But I don't think other people have either. So, I mean, until this article came out and this woman talking, so I don't know. I don't know why they would want to hide the fact that he was there, except for maybe to protect his professional influence on the world. I mean, if he was associated with UFOs, he may be seen as being kind of quacky or something.
Yeah,
they were wanting to base all of his theories on science, on their version of to move forward with quantum physics and everything. They needed him, and so if he was to sound silly, what good would that be? That he was at Roswell, be known for that, because he would be known for that. It would overshadow his career if he was the scientist there at Roswell. And that's just my, I don't know, maybe thing.
I think reputation-wise, definitely. But if it got out that he was there, don't you think that the weather balloon thing would be out? Like it would probably be a more deeply kept secret, because if he was there, it would suggest pretty much it was the alien hypothesis thing, right?
It would now.
Yeah.
At the time, he wasn't, at the time he wasn't what he is now. He's become the stuff of like legends now. Really blown out, kind of, really surpassing legend, really, in some ways. But, yeah, he's more myth than man now. But at that time, he would have not been. People would have been like, oh, who's this, clockmaker turned physicist, the whole thing about him. But no, he's amazing. So I guess if he was there, I think that we would have to assume then that they were trying to figure out, like, what's this craft and how did it travel so far? Where did they come from? We've never seen unless they know a little bit more too about where they could have come from. And what if it is terrestrial, but super terrestrial, like somewhere really far, far away underneath, or across the distance or the great water or something. If they seem to be associated with water, it could be that they have crossed great expanses of water, literally millions, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of impossible distance. Because you can only travel so far with nothing to stop and get refueled with. So if they figured out technology to travel across great expanses of land, water, without stopping, possibly and not needing to refuel in any way, unless there's more to come as far as what they, what kind of physiological thing is going on. So might as well just take whatever she's saying and see what we get out of it, I think.
Yeah, it gets wild, too. I'll play more of it as we go tonight. If we get no takers in the third hour, I'll just play the rest of it in its entirety, because a lot of the things you're describing, she actually kind of brings up. So it seems like you're in tune with this already. I appreciate it so much. Anything else while we got you on the phone?
Nope. It's a really cool story. All right.
I think so, too.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Everybody follow Jennifer. She's got a YouTube channel. Scroll down on Rockfin and also on YouTube. The links are down below. Give Jennifer a follow and give her some love. Thank you so much for the call.
Bye, Mike. Thank you.
Have a great night.
Appreciate
it. Great night. No, thank you. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. All right, so we're talking about this. We're talking about Einstein student claims both were taken to examine Roswell craft and beings, entities. And not only was there a bashed up saucer when she arrived, maybe not a saucer. I don't think she described it as that. It was a craft, she said. And then not only that, there were dying extraterrestrials. Yeah, that's Jennifer Algo. Follow the YouTube channel. Scroll down. Yeah, give Jen a follow. Very, very good stuff. All right, so let's go. Let's see. We got a clog up here. All right. Tell you what. Let's go. We're going to go to the phones. Derek, hang tight. We're going to go to Robert first, and then we'll go to you after. So if we have to cut you to the break, you're off tonight, right? Let me know, and then I'll take the call. But tonight we're talking about Einstein student claims both were taken to examine Roswell craft and beings. And I don't know. I think this is the weird stuff here with what's really happening. I don't know. It seems that, there's some reasons why there was, why they would, if there was an actual crash with entities, it seems reasonable that they would call, some of the best minds in the world, That was part of that Indiana Jones trope, right? Where in the Crystal Skull movie, they brought him in and put him in he described a bus with blacked out windows and drove him in the desert and all the rest of this stuff. So I don't know. You tell me. What do you guys think about this? And all right. So there it is. So we're gonna take. So hang tight. I think I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Make sure. I don't want to cut off. All right. Let's go to Robert. Just he's on the phone, and then we'll go to Derek after that. Robert in Pennsylvania. Welcome to the show. How are you, my friend?
Fine. How are you?
Doing okay. What's on your mind, my man? What do you think about this?
Okay, I'm hearing myself back on the phone.
Okay, I'll try and kill it. Try that. Go ahead.
Okay. I got a number of points to make here. Okay, so this may take a little while. All right. What really struck me in this woman's report on what she said was something the aliens were most interested in what could kill us. And they, while at the same time giving up virtually nothing about themselves. Did anybody pick that up?
Yeah, so she goes on from there, but you're right. As far as what we're hearing so far, they were asking, and it's weird too the way she described it, that it was sort of a mysterious, how an alien might ask, like, what makes you expire? You know, kind of not using the word die, right? Yeah, but you're right. I think so. They were asking those types of questions, but I think it was sort of on their deathbed as it's being told, as the story's being told. But you're right.
Yeah. But that also is a paradox because these aliens themselves were dying. All right?
Exactly.
And yet they're more curious about what could kill us. I think that's probably the most profound witness statement of, in that hangar from anybody that I've ever heard. They wanted specifically to know what would kill us. Also, she says that there were no sexual organs apparent, all right, which is common. This is what, in the literature often is said about, these aliens, that they don't seem to have sexual organs. But, of course, they're wearing form-fitting uniforms. She didn't see their naked bodies, right? From her recollection, and this is another thing that gives her credibility to me, she seemed kind of mystified where she was. She did, the whole Roswell thing has been around for a long time, several decades. So there's plenty of literature about it. So, but her own reflections don't indicate that she really was well versed in it. In the literature about Roswell, because she seemed, looking back, she was remembering something. She was remembering something, and she was remembering that she was, basically kind of flummoxed where she was. She didn't even know. She had a heck of a time trying to figure out what to call the building. All right, she finally realized it was a hangar, but she didn't come to that conclusion right away. This indicates somebody who's remembering something very real. And this is also the first time I've ever heard of lots of instrumentation in those alien craft. And she said that there was a lot of instrumentation in there. And what struck me also was she talked about that pods came up from the floor.
Yes.
All right? And a lot of people have, over these decades, who've spotted these UFOs in the sky and then seen glowing orbs that either were dropped out from underneath or followed the craft and then re-merged with the craft from underneath. So that gives that credibility too. All right, that explains that. All right, it's kind of like 2001: A Space Odyssey, and they had the pod that Hal wouldn't let back into the spaceship. All right, and also, why would this clearly well-educated physicist, this very intelligent woman, lie in her old age? Tell me now, what would she gain by lying?
Especially, especially if the story the story hasn't broken until after she passed away, even. So it seems like it was kind of on the down low even then. But you're right. Go right ahead.
Right. Even her obituary confirms her study under Einstein. There's nothing in her story that opens up, that can't be confirmed, except that she was there. All right? We can't confirm that. All right? That's probably a Freedom of Information Act. That's probably somewhere in the deep state files somewhere. But everything else about herself and her life that she talks about is easily verifiable.
Exactly. Yes. So
there's no lie there. And And it reminds me of when Lieutenant Colonel Philip Corso wrote that the day after Roswell. Are you familiar with that book?
Yes, sure am.
Okay, of course you are. But what was really striking about that is he was a dying man, all right? And he told this. He said he wanted to get this out for his grandkids, all right? He knows he's dying. Why would he lie? He's dying, all right? He isn't going to even profit from the story at all. And it's and yet when that book came out, there was a brief controversy. All right, I believe it was a bestseller, but it was a brief controversy, and then it kind of withered away. Even in modern UFO circles, it's really talked about. All right, and yet it's one of the most credible accounts that I've ever read, and it's almost like people are scared in the UFO community to talk about him. All right, like he was some crazy old man. This man, everything he said about himself, about his military career, outside of the Roswell business, it's like her. It was easily verifiable. Everything about his military experiences, even being Twining's go-to man when it comes to this, back, what's that called? Back when you
reverse engineering.
Take these things that you have in the file. Yeah, reverse engineering. It's all there. All right. So, but do I find him more credible than this woman? I find this woman more credible than he is. All right. And the only reason I think that anybody would flip her off, in spite of her credentials, is simply because she's female. I don't want to get into the woke thing here, but that's the way it was back in those days.
Yeah, 100%.
And you can tell by her recollection of it that it didn't bother her. I mean, because she was from that time, and it was something that was a given. So even in her old age, it's not something that she made a big issue of. She just basically threw it out there. They just really didn't pay any attention to me. Those are my points.
Okay, fantastic. You're perfectly on time because we've got about 30 seconds left. I appreciate the call, my friend. You're the best. Robert, buy his book, Stories from a Fractured Mind. The Robert Collection link is down below. Thanks for your thoughts tonight, my man. You were the best. Talk to you soon, okay?
Certainly, and I'll continue to listen. Bye.
Appreciate it, brother. All right, there you go. There you go. We got some great thoughts for some smart minds out there. But the question is this. The question remains, what do you believe? Einstein student claims they were taken to examine Roswell craft and communicated with alien beings. You tell me. What are your thoughts on this? We got Night Stalker after the break, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Love to hear your thoughts. Don't go anywhere. More coming up. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rock Band, D-Live, YouTube, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. We're taking your phone calls. Tonight, we are talking about Einstein student claims both were taken to examine Roswell craft and beings. Yes, extraterrestrials, entities. What are these things? And do you believe this is true? How come we're just hearing about this now? Did I miss something? I guess it's possible that I completely missed this and this has been out there forever. I don't know. It's an enigma and wrapped in a mystery, and we're talking about it tonight and love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. All right, let's do it. Let's go to the Night Stalker. Kill the Night Stalker. Kill the music first, and let's do it. Let's get our good friend Derek in Massachusetts. What's up, Derek? Welcome to the show. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Mike. Great show.
Thank you. This is a weird one, isn't it?
Oh, it's cool. Really cool. Really heavy on the maybe juice tonight, and I'm loving it. It's awesome stuff.
Perfect. So what are your thoughts? First of all, have you ever heard this story before, or is this the first time ever?
This is the first time ever, yeah. And you would definitely think that Einstein, who's like posters on people's wall in college and like backgrounds of everyone's computer, he's the thinker, the mind, the genius. You know, you would assume that would have leaked out at some point. You know, of all the things we've learned about Roswell over the last 70 years, or however long it's been. You know, like surprising.
Exactly. So maybe I'm not the only one now. Now, we haven't had anybody out there yet say, yes, I've heard this story. So that part makes me suspicious. How do you feel about all this?
Lately, I've just been listening to a lot of the are aliens really what we think they are type stuff. So I've never subscribed to the idea that aliens might be demons. You know, I think that that's like an oversimplification of what's happening. So I don't want anybody to like misconstrue what I'm about to say. But there's that line of thinking. Those people who think there's some kind of negative alien agenda believe that what they're trying to do and their goal for like decades has been to basically get rid of religion and kind of like break down spirituality into like scientism, and then rebuild up this like alien spirituality and use like aliens as the new religion and the new god. So under that paradigm, which I don't necessarily subscribe to, this is just maybe juice talking. It's possible that what they're trying to do is just kind of like put forward the poster boy for like scientific idea and mathematical genius as a way for like quote unquote the cult of science to accept aliens as something that's real and plausible and scientific, and like, hey, like look how big the universe is. There has to be something out there. It's science. It's science, you know. And I myself am a supporter of science. Science is very important. Like we love science, you know. So I don't necessarily subscribe to this narrative, but if I was one of these people, this type of story would be like, see, it's exactly what I've been saying, you know. So I think that's kind of interesting when that type of stuff pops up, you know.
Yeah, I've been saying it for 10 damn years. The aliens have been coming to Earth. Right.
Exactly.
Stay. Okay, so I like the thought. Continue. Go ahead.
Yeah, like, along the lines of like, where are they coming from? Like Jennifer was talking about. And again, Jennifer, awesome call. And I just binged her YouTube channel recently, and it's just mind-blowing stuff. So everyone, please get a chance if you like this type of content. Like her stuff is really, really amazing. And I listened to Rohan's podcast too. I got a couple sneak peek episodes, and it's really amazing stuff. Like a really, really great listen. So I highly recommend both those.
Quick plug.
Both those content streams.
Perfect. Let me plug Rohan just real fast. Rohan has a podcast out. It's called Exiled Minds Podcast, like EMP, like blow your brain. That type of EMP. Exiled Minds Podcast. Check it out. It's down below. Scroll down. It's in the links just below the YouTube. He's friends of Troubled Minds. You can find him down there. Go right ahead, sir. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, really great stuff. Yes. So Jennifer's talking about like, where are they coming from? Is it like somewhere so far away? And then you were talking about at the beginning of the show, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And in that movie, it was kind of a spoiler alert for a universally panned, hated movie from 10 years ago or whatever.
Totally.
But they talk about how they're not from space. They're from the spaces between spaces, or the space between spaces, that they're interdimensional. And they're like, spoiler alert again, at the end of the movie, their giant metal disc starts spinning and rotating and creating this like whirlwind, which is in all type of different mythologies and biblical stories, and then just vanishes, just disappears. So they're not traveling anywhere per se. They're just kind of like going back to the, I guess, frequency that they're normally at, I guess, for lack of a better term. I'm not sure. But you've used the term summon a lot, like as in relation to Einstein, and like he was summoned to Roswell, which I think is a great use of the term for Roswell, because I think that's kind of what was going on. It wasn't, I don't believe, or I like the idea that it wasn't some alien ship that accidentally crashed. It was like summoned, that like the military and secret societies and the powers that be did a bunch of rituals and workings or whatever, and the goal was to receive technology, and this is how it manifested as a crashed ship in Roswell, which is Roswell is based on the term Roswell, like from like Roswell in France, like which is like right next door to Rosslyn Chapel and the whole Templar mystery and everything, and it's based on like the idea of these liminal areas and that whole Well show you did recently, which everyone should check out if you haven't heard it. But along the same lines, that this is a portal area and it's bringing something through, you know, and like Roswell itself is aligned to Mount Hermon, which like is the entire narrative of Mount Hermon is these like demons of the air or angelic beings or something from above coming down to give humanity technology, and they're both on like the 33rd 0.34 parallel. You know, like they're like exactly aligned with each other, which I think is interesting. Like a year before Roswell, they did Operation Crossroads in the South Pacific, where they just launched a bunch of nukes into the atmosphere, and it was like ran by General Ramey, who's like from like stationed at Roswell most of the time. He's like a general who was like at Roswell all the time, and then they call him the Ram, and it's like super like ritualistic that they called something in, that the goal was for the technology, which they then received to give us the transistor and Great Bell Labs and the whole big technology boom that we've experienced, you know. So I'm not sure as far as what they are, what really happened. I don't know. I'm not really sure, but I think it's something like ultra terrestrials or something that's like has been engaging with humanity for a really, really long time, and doesn't be from space per se. Not that like there aren't stuff from space which is coming down, which I'm very, very open to, but I think there's also other stuff, and this might be a case of other stuff happening.
Yeah, the rest of the interview with his assistant there, again, Dr. Shirley Wright, is going to blow your mind, because a lot of the things you guys are saying right now are things that she said in the interview. So we'll get to that stuff.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So that's the weird part here is now we have like so many years after the fact, this individual has passed away in 2015, and now we're like getting this information, including an audio clip where she's clearly, it sounds like she's in like a banquet room, like with like a microphone interface talking about aliens. It's like what is going on right about now?
I know.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, you'll see. I'll play the rest of that. Hell or High Water. If we got to go late, I'll make sure I play all of it, because it's incredible the things she says. Just so far, I've played not even half of it yet, and some of the things she said so far is like, wow, what?
I know.
Yeah, and
there's a huge swath of room between whether she's telling the truth and whether she's lying. Like it's very much not that simple. It's not that binary at all, especially when you get into alien and entities and a weird contact and like people like underlings working with the elites. Like there's a heavy connotation of like MK Ultra involved with these ultra terrestrials. Like that's the primary, like for lack of a better term, some kind of like mind control or like altering of personality or some kind of ritual programming or something that's going on that not only like convinces people of what they're seeing or creates a narrative in their head for them to later describe with full vigor because they believe in it so much, like they're not telling any type of lies because this is what they believed they saw, but also that there's a strong connection with that type of ritualistic programming in actually contacting these entities. That's part of it. That's like it calls them in as part of the ritual to bring these things forward, is to have some kind of weird I don't know, some kind of weird I don't even know, rituals, I guess, for lack of a better term. I don't know that they're so it's like when people say like, is she telling the truth or not? It's not that simple. Do I believe that she believes what she's saying? Yeah, probably. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Do I think she's Einstein's assistant? Yeah, for sure. Do I think Einstein was in these elite circles and might not be on the level? Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So like, is it about? I don't know. I don't want to say bad about Einstein, but I don't know. Like,
yeah, you don't know.
Yeah, I'll bring some assistant that you can mind wash and make her think that she's seeing aliens for sure. Or you can show her with these entities and convince her that it's more physical. I don't know. I'm not sure. There's a room for interpretation, like between is she lying or not, you know? So I like to get into the weird, like, I don't know. Her name Wright is interesting to me. Like that they took these entities to Wright Patterson after Air Force after that. It's just a weird synchronicity. I don't know. I'll let somebody else call, but
no, you're good.
Great show, Mike.
Okay, so do you believe then that at some point, before I let you go,
yeah,
Roswell did happen? This is not just a weather balloon. There's some other dirty shenanigans going on here for sure, right?
For sure, yeah. My question is it a craft from space? I lean towards the idea that whatever it is was not an accident. It was a result of a ritual, that the purpose, that they're called something in to get technology, and this is how it happened, that it was given to us through the form of a crash. I don't know whether it's more complicated and more ethereal or whatever, like if you're actually at the crash, I don't know, like, or if whatever these entities are able to just manifest completely physical things and throw them at us. I really don't know how it works, obviously, but I know there's a lot of complicated, weird occult stuff mixed into the stew that makes it interesting. I guess the maybe juice really flowing nice, you know.
Amen.
But,
amen to that.
Awesome show, Mike.
Great stuff.
Great calls, everybody.
You're the best. Derek has a podcast, by the way. You want to tell him real quick about the one you did with Dave?
Oh yeah, on not tonight, but most Mondays we do Pulp Addicts podcast, where I just help out Dave and Russ Bailey talking about all things like pop culture, nerd news, comic books, that kind of stuff. A break from the heavy maybe juice and get more into just the actual sci-fi, not the sci-fi that's probably actually happening, you know.
There you go. And you can find that on Twitch. The reason I haven't added it to the links down below is because
no, that's cool. It's fine.
There's no YouTube channel. No, I will. But I just want to make sure if you guys want to find it, search for Beyond the Strange on Twitch. I'll have the link up tonight after the show for sure. Thank you, Derek. You were amazing. I appreciate the call, my friend.
For sure, dude. Thank you. I mean, Mike, thank you. Sorry, great show, Mike.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Have a great night, bro.
Sorry,
okay. All right, you're cool. You're cool. All right. So what we're talking about, we're going to continue talking about this. Now, this is the strangeness of this. All right, is there's a whole lot here. Let's play just a couple more clips. Now, I'm going to skip around because we don't have time to get to the meat and potatoes of this. But I'm going to get to exactly what again the assistant here, Dr. Shirley Wright, was a student of Einstein's, and supposedly the story goes like this. They were whisked away. Einstein took his assistant, which was Dr. Wright at the time. And in 1993, she came out with this interview. And she was discussing how she was actually there as a witness in this hangars. Again, you know, like Robert described when he called in. She kind of had a hard time describing the military terms because clearly she's not in the military. She was probably at this air base in somewhere clearly outside of Roswell. It's undetermined where it is. Maybe it was at Wright Pat already. Who knows? But so she's describing how they had the wreckage of this alien craft from Roswell. Yes, that Roswell, 1947. And they were actually discussing and trading information with actual dying entities from this crash. All right. So here is what she had to say about. We're going to cut to the chase, and we'll jump back in the third hour here, so you guys can hear the rest of it in its entirety. But this is kind of the whole point of this. This is her describing these aliens themselves. Listen to this.
They were a very light, soft, gray, I'd call it grayish green, really. And they had a slim, lean, they had no nose, but they had markings where a nose opening would be. They had eyes and a mouth, no eyebrows. They had ears. They had a very forehead, and I'd say relative to the rest of their body. And the ones that I saw were approximately maybe 5 feet tall, 5 feet 5, something like that. They're small by what a man ordered on Earth.
What did their eyes look like?
Their eyes were enormous. They were very prominent. They were the most obvious thing you'd see on their face.
Were there any pupils?
I noticed, but I never saw any pupils.
What color were they?
They were almost brown-black. They were very, very dark.
Were they all the same color in terms of the...
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Did they have any kind of clothing on?
Yes, they had suits on.
What did they look like?
Very much toward like what we call suits. The only thing was, though, that I didn't recognize the fabric. It didn't look like any fabric that I would know as a chemist, or even today that I would recognize.
You catch that? So they were wearing some sort of suits and some bizarre alien fabric, like you would expect like a spacesuit to be, right? Some sort of something. She says even today, interview was in 1993 approximately, she says that she even today wouldn't recognize the fabric in whatever uniforms they were wearing, all right? And I want you guys to hear this part because this is the best part as she describes what these aliens are. So we're talking about Einstein. The story is this, that Albert Einstein was whisked away with a student of his assistant at the time, and it's Dr. Mary Wright. Shirley Wright. There you go. I did it. I'm usually good for botching one person's name every show, and I just did it. Dr. Shirley Wright, a student of Albert Einstein at Princeton, claims she was taken along with Einstein to examine the crashed craft from the Roswell UFO incident. She also says that they communicated with the beings before they died. Right? So what the hell's going on here? And how come we're hearing about this for the first time? Like I said, it's possible entirely I've missed this, okay? And never heard of this in my life. And that's why I'm a little confused. But it's also possible that maybe for some reason this is kind of coming out for the first time. That's why it's good to get together and hear your guys' thoughts on this. Have you heard of this theory before October of 2021? Interesting. What's up, Corey? The beginning of Under Armour. There you go. Right? They created the company out of it. All right. So anyway, what's up, Corey? Thanks for showing up. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. One more clip of this, and then we'll just finish the rest of these clips in the third hour. But this is her explaining she saw these entities with her own eyes, and she's describing what they look like in this hangar with a busted up flying saucer and these entities that were dying right there as they tried to communicate in the moments she was at Roswell. Now listen to this.
Were there any kind of fasteners or buttons or zippers or ties or something? No, I didn't see any. What about their shoes? Their shoes were all, it looked like they were connected. They were in one piece. And their hands, their limbs were covered, right down to what we would call the wrist. What color was it, and was it any kind of trim? You mean the suit itself? Oh, it had like an insignia on it. What did the insignia look like? Gee, I'd have to draw it for you. It looked like a... I'm not an artist, but it looked like something like this. I didn't know what it meant. The insignia. The insignia was almost in the middle of the garment. It wasn't off on the side like we would expect it to be. Did they need any special breathing apparatuses, or did they appear to be breathing on their own? And that was one of the amazing things that we were startled about, where they could apparently survive in our atmosphere. And they had apparently come such a long way. Did they seem to indicate that the atmosphere similar to ours, their breathing? They asked us about that, and we asked them about it. Yes, they seemed to indicate yes, that it was quite similar. It was not identical to ours, though, because they claimed they had made tests.
Okay, there we go. So that's about what we're going to play from. We're running out of time here, but you see that she clearly it seems like she's even like perplexed for some of the details herself. All right, and she, in the end, and as she continues, she's got a theory she'll throw out that may surprise you. But the thing is this, right? So we're trying to get at the answers here. Not really. I mean, we're trying to ask some questions to maybe make our minds work. And how come we're just hearing about this for the first time now? And second, how come this is mind blowing. This is one of those things where if she knew this as far back as 1993, and this hasn't been thrown about in UFO circles forever, then what is going on with this? So supposedly, once again, just a brief to catch you guys up, Dr. Shirley Wright, PhD, is who we just heard speaking in an interview. That was an interview in 1993. She was a student of Albert Einstein at Princeton, claims she was taken along with Einstein to examine the crashed craft from the Roswell UFO. And she also says they communicated with the beings before they died. And so you heard her describing them, wearing a suit. She said they had some sort of insignia right in the middle. She was asked about the shoes, or were there clips or buttons or anything like this. She said no. It appeared like the shoes were part of the outfit itself. It was made of some sort of material she'd never seen anything before or since, and this was all the way up to 1993. Remember, the crash happened in 1947. So I don't know. The question is, there's still a lot of questions here. What does this mean? Again, like it's a personal account. This is literally the first time I've ever heard in anybody's own words on an audio tape, correct me if I'm wrong, that they witnessed the Roswell crash, or at least the aftermath. First time ever. Am I wrong here? If I'm wrong, fine. Like I don't know. I don't know the answers. I don't know all the answers. That's why I'm here, because I'm asking questions. If I was the answers guy, like I always say, this would be a very short show. I just start the show, read you the answers. Thank you for listening. It's not like that. It's not that easy, is it? And so, what do you believe? Do you believe this is completely possible, probable? What do you believe about the Roswell crash itself? Yes, that Roswell crash. Aliens, right? You tell me. I don't know. It does make my mind go in like 30 different directions, especially when you hear this entire interview. It seems all over the place. And like some of the details are like, wow, what? Like, this is incredible. So, yeah, you tell me. I don't know what to believe because, again, I've heard stories like this before. I've heard stories like this. We've heard stories like this from different sources, right? Again, Philip Corso is one, described by Robert there. He wrote a book called The Day After Roswell. And so he's not, but again, right, like an audio recording with his own voice saying, yes, I saw entities and we contacted them and I saw the busted up saucer. I don't know about that, but that's what this chick is saying, right? And I apologize, Dr. Shirley Wright. That's probably inappropriate of me to call her a chick at this point. Passed away. Sorry about the disrespect there. But that's what she was saying. That's what she was saying, that she saw this busted up saucer, craft, whatever it is, and ended up being able to, not her directly, but seeing other people communicate with these entities. So as we finish, you guys know the drill. What we're going to do is we're going to keep on talking about this. We're going to keep on considering the possibilities here. But how come this is brand new? How come this is just now entering the zeitgeist? And you tell me. I have no idea. Answers, questions, not answers. I don't know. I wish I had the answers here. But what do you believe? That's what this is all about. And as we finish, you guys know what's up. You're listening to us on the Fringe FM. Stay tuned for Joe Root, Lighting the Void. And then after that, The Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable. If you're listening to us on any other platform, including the podcast feed, stay tuned for a third hour of Troubled Minds. And again, no answers here. I only have questions. And there's more questions. They just keep coming in my mind. What about yours? So as we finish, be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night. What's up? Third hour Troubled Minds coming up. We're still talking about this. Einstein whisked away to examine the Roswell crash and the occupants involved, which of course could be aliens or something to that effect. Like I said, we've got an assistant of his that has a first-hand account. It was supposedly at the hangar where they were communicating with the aliens and viewing the crashed craft or flying saucer, as it were. You tell me. Love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And third hour of the Baby Juice coming up. 2-minute break. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds on the way. End your calls. Looking to hear from you. We'll play more of the interview from the doctor, name correct, Dr. Shirley Wright. We're going to play more from that interview. And as always, love to hear your calls and your thoughts. So one more time, phone number is up. Don't go anywhere. 2-minute break. More Troubled Minds on the way. All right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. Once again, sorry about the referring to a passed away PhD as a chick. It's extremely rude of me. It's just me being a knucklehead like I am. So let's keep talking about this. Keep thinking about this. It is I don't know. There's a lot here. There's a lot to think about, a lot to consider. What do you believe? It all comes down to what you believe, okay? And if you're thinking and considering in terms of government disinformation and all the rest of this, I don't know. Like she's clearly, as far as I'm aware, not a government employee, and some of the rest of these things. Once again, Dr. Shirley Wright, PhD, was a student of Albert Einstein at Princeton. Claims she was taken along with Einstein to examine the crashed craft from the Roswell UFO incident. She also says they communicated with the beings before they died. So, well, how does this make you feel? We'll play more of the interview, and like I said, she does have a conclusion at the end here that we'll play, but, tenterhooks, keep you waiting, stretch it out, we can't just play the end, or it would have to be the end. So there we go. So, all right. So looks like we got Rohan's been in here waiting, so let's go to our good buddy Rohan, the famous Liam Martin, as it were. Welcome to the show. I see you there, Austin. We'll get to you in a moment as well. What's up, Rohan? How are you? What's up, bro? Seth, are you there? See, I can call Rohan that because, we pick on each other all the time. Rohan, whenever you're ready. Okay, so looking to hear from you guys tonight. What are your thoughts? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, troubledminds.org. And again, Jennifer says, enough to make Roswell relevant all over again. And I think so, possibly, right? I think so. Let's see. The mud pots and geysers released a bad from Yellowstone caldera. What's up, Algo? Let's see. Let's go over to Rockfin. Robert and JR says didn't have navels or genitalia. They were in suits, so she couldn't really tell. And JR says, we know there was communication. Mind-blowing. Einstein was the one to communicate. Makes sense he would be sent and things would be kept hush-hush. Agreed. Robert says those aliens at Roswell clearly weren't the ancient aliens of lore because it was obvious by the Dr. Wright's account those aliens dying in the hangar knew little about human beings. Okay. All right. Agreed. Lots of good stuff there. So let's go to Rohan. What's up, my friend? Welcome to the show. How are you?
What's up, brother? All right. How you doing?
Doing well. So Rohan finally came out of the closet and gave us his real name. His name is Liam Martin, and he's got a podcast called the Exiled Minds Podcast, EMP as it were. Link is down below. Go follow Rohan. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for that, by the way. I really appreciate that. That's nice.
Yeah,
Cheers,
of course, man. Come on, you know me. Come on, we can succeed together. Come on, man.
You can beat me. I was just about to say that.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
But okay,
dude, yeah, I appreciate that. Jennifer's as well, by the way, as well on that one. Yeah, I checked Jennifer's out. They're really good. Lots of short shots, man. Oh yeah, and some part 1s and 2s and 3s on some of them. Yeah, it's great. Check Jennifer's YouTube, man. It's really good.
100%. Scroll down, guys, on both on Rockfin and YouTube, and you'll see there's links for everybody. And on YouTube, in particular, if you scroll down further, there's Friends of Troubled Minds. There's a whole bunch of people down there. Penny Bunny's there. The Curious Bunny. Al goes down there. There's links down there. New Hampshire UFO Hunter, the Best Damn Podcast. There's all kinds of links down there. Please go check those folks out. They're friends of the show and have been on here at some point or another and are very kind people. So there you go. Just to get the pluggages out of the way. There's the plugs. Let's go with your thoughts on this, man. Have you heard of this before? This Einstein in Roswell?
Well, firstly, yeah, I've not heard that, right? But I've heard of him associated with the Philadelphia experiment, and it comes as like no surprise at all to me that you'd ask Einstein about this crazy stuff. And I was thinking along the lines of because we've had Thomas Townsend Brown. Used to experiment with unusual electrical phenomenon, weird stuff, and he was 1905 to 1985. And Raymond Rife, famous for working with frequencies, okay, that's 1888 to 1971. So during those eras, we've got other genius people. Do you know what I'm saying? And we've already discovered strange defects in the 30s with electromagnetism. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm going along the lines of thinking that they kind of was ahead of stuff anyway, and then maybe some aliens turned up or whatever. But I think they kind of was getting along them lines anyway. They still got some cool stuff and some smart people. Do you know what I mean? And then I wonder, because there used to be this theory that Einstein was almost like a chosen, created character to be held up on a pedestal as the smartest person. And then they could say, oh, it's because of a phenomenon of his brain, so he's like a one-off, to kind of play down how smart people can get and how much we know. Do you know what I mean?
Like a fake caricature, like he never existed, you mean?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. Like, I mean, I'm sure he really existed, and he worked at a patent office. It was just a crazy theory years ago, saying because he worked at a patent office, he'd know lots of stuff. And I think, I don't know, whatever. But I just thought, yeah, that was just interesting with that, with all the information. Because the point I'm making is that we've already got lots of cool stuff. We've got lots of smart people. If Einstein and Tesla and stuff are working with things like the Philadelphia experiment and UFOs and trying these effects out, the Beefield-Brown effect, then yeah, it makes total sense. That's what I'd expect. You know what I'm saying? And then I think the question of why only now, I think that's, for me at least, I think it's quite reasonable to say that, imagine how, think about this, the CIA person that went to work at Facebook said they was surprised that Facebook's got more information on people than the CIA. Tons of information. So you think about all these, how many secret files are there? How many lines of text is there? How many pages are there? I think it's so easy for a few pages to slip through the cracks. Do you know what I mean? And to us, this is mind-blowing because we're interested in this stuff. But other people wouldn't really care. It would be of no value. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, I think it's easier for stuff like this to slip through the cracks. That's what I'm saying, Mike.
Yeah, and again, this is mind-blowing stuff. I don't think it's really an unreasonable expectation if aliens crashed in any capacity, ultra-terrestrials, super-terrestrials, extraterrestrials, anything weird like that in 1947 in Roswell. I think that the most believable thing is they would have got Einstein to have a look, right? I would think. Like, you would literally, just like, again, back to the Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls and whisking up Indiana Jones and putting him in a bus with black windows and dragging him out to the desert, right? I think it would probably be something similar. And so, in that representation, in that movie, again, unfortunately, kind of a bad movie in my opinion, but what can you do? There were good parts to it. That he was put on with, doctors and physicists, and he was like the top notable archaeologist. And so that's what they did. They grabbed the top in the field and brought him out there to look, right, at what the heck was going on. So I don't know, that part to me seems completely plausible. If aliens crashed, all right? But that's a big if, isn't it? That's a big if.
Yeah, but it's the same it's the same with any big situation or disaster movies and stuff. You always want to get the top guy in, don't you? The top geologist because of the super volcano. You know what I mean? Of course you want to get the top experts in.
Yeah, well, of course. That's the whole point. Like, why would you ask like some knucklehead at the local junior college? No offense, junior college is great. You know what I mean? You're the U.S. government with all the money in the world, because you can just print it on demand, if you know what I'm saying. Cha-ching. So why would you not fly in Albert Einstein? Like, come on. Everybody has their price, even if you got to wake him up in the middle of the night, like they claimed, at least in the movie they did to Dr. Indiana Jones. They woke him up in the middle of the night, threw him on an airplane, put him on a bus with blacked out windows, and drove him out to the desert. It seems plausible.
Exactly. How many times have we seen that trope in movies where we need you, you're going,
Yeah, and there's no option. It's a national security thing. Shut up, get in the car, and they grab a suitcase and they're out the door, and the adventure begins.
Exactly. But there was I think there were some great points for the callers there as well in terms of so let's say this happened. Definitely something happened, right? So I'm thinking of I think Joe called and made some good points about the distances and coming from going across space and stuff. And I think that if you're coming from if they're coming from outside of the planet, from outside of Earth, let's say from in our space, I think the moon's the best spot for it, or under the seas, that stuff, that classic stuff. The moon's got a really good view. It's perfect base. The moon's weird, isn't it? Without getting across to that. But then I think Joe also said that although we're talking these large distances, right, I just want to and he said, "Oh, we'd probably see them on telescopes." But I'm wondering, well, maybe not, because I remember that there was once a solar flare that hit Mercury, and it was caught on like the flare cams and stuff, and it highlighted an object in front of Mercury that was almost half the size of it. Do you know what I mean? And it was only visible while the flare hit it, just a moment as the wave came past. Do you know what I mean? So it makes me think, and plus you get loads of massive objects that we presume are asteroids going into the sun, and I'm still on that. Suns are they're portals, and that's why you get sunspots, because you can't I can't understand how you can have a black sunspot when it's all light, unless it's like a hole in the surface and it's black on the inside. Do you know what I'm saying? It gets me into that stars are portals thing. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, so if they're coming from outside, I think use stars as portals. If you're coming from other dimensions and you're able to kind of twist space and time, well, then that work for going to other dimensions and for jumping to other places. I think stars would be used for it, to be honest. So that's what I was thinking on that one.
That part seems to make sense, because you would expect, right? The whole point is of exotic travel, exotic propulsion, as it were, is that what kind of fuel source, right? You can't have you can't attach a star to the back of your craft. So what if you can gobble up enough fuel for the journey there, and then stars are pretty much easy to find everywhere, and you could just gobble up more energy from the next one and shoot off to wherever you want to go. That makes sense.
Oh, I think the doorways. I think there's the highways. I think they get used as a big highway, big wormhole highway. Because if the portals and if they're electromagnetic spheres, which way it seems to be to me, spilling in energy from another dimension, okay. And that's why you're only seeing the surface as light, because that's the only part where it's, materializing in our dimension. Do you know what I'm saying? And so if it's a portal coming this way, then perhaps you can go back through the other way. And like I say, maybe you're coming out of black holes at the other end. It's an old idea, isn't it? So I just think this might be something to that. Because, what are stars? We don't really know. And then who's got the main star satellite for our star? Well, that's like controlled by the Vatican, I think, Soho. So,
Well, and then even so with the theory there, it's like, what are you talking about? How could you even get close to the sun and it'll burn you up? Well, look at our Parker Solar Probe. Like we've had one kind of zinging around the sun for the better part of a year plus now, and it hasn't burned up. Like we found a way
exactly.
It's not dipping into it, but it's getting damn close. And, it's taking readings on the sun and all the rest of this, which I should probably follow up on, by the way, see what kind of data is coming off the Parker Solar Probe. But but it's apparently still out there, and it's orbiting the sun and bouncing around Venus, Mercury, that whole area, and it hasn't burned up yet. So if we can do that, surely an extraterrestrial civilization that uses the sun as some sort of source of power would be able to do that as well. Okay, so what do you think then regarding all of this stuff, the Roswell stuff? What do you think about that incident itself? Is this real? What is going on here? Like again, right? On one account, we've got a weather balloon, we got Russians and all kinds of weird shit, and then on the other, right? And that's super weird. On the other one, we got even more super weird, and that's what entities crashed in a craft. It's
summoned.
Summoned. Exactly. It's like the binary of super weird. No matter which way you go, it's super weird, because even if they say it was a weather balloon, really, in 1947, the press and the people around New Mexico didn't know what the hell a weather balloon was. That seems ridiculous to me. Come on. But
they all seem ridiculous, don't they? I think they do. I think they all seem sort of silly. But I think over the decades, we've got more accustomed to hearing these kinds of things, and I'm thinking it's because if you put it all together, perhaps it really is too big to handle. And I think to the Matrix movie and script of that story, it's very complex. In 1999, it's really hard. It's kind of hard to follow. But nowadays, that's your average action film with a big plot. Do you know what I'm saying? So we've kind of advanced in how much abstract thoughts we can now quantify in our own minds. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've got a bit smarter in terms of this kind of thinking over the last 20 years. Do you know what I'm saying? And a lot of that stuff's been put into Hollywood. So I think it's a case of, like, you kind of have to seed people with soft disclosure to almost expand the mind enough, almost like going up the Tower of Babel. You've got to raise your frequency a little bit to meet you in the middle. And I think that might be what it is. It's just some of this stuff's so big. Do you know what I mean? And if you're going to have hiding things away, I bet there's different tiers. I know we have different levels of top secret, but I bet there's different tiers of what's the most damaging information for people. Do you know what I mean? To what it can kind of slip out. Do you know what I'm saying? And then I'm glad I think it was Robert mentioned Colonel Corso. Glad because he said the same thing. Colonel Corso said pretty much the same thing. And like you say, if wherever these beings are, let's assume they've come then, wherever they're from, we don't necessarily assume that they know who we are or what we're about. That could be an accident. If it's a crash, then that seems like an accident, right? So maybe they've come in here, don't know who the hell we are. So this asking about death, about how do you expire, perhaps that's an awkward way of asking, do you know how to, can you help us? Do you know what I'm saying? Just do you know what I mean? Yeah, if you're asking about the health and dying and stuff, and plus you're injured, and if you're doing it telepathically, I don't know about you, but if I'm very hungry or stressed out, I perhaps can't think clearly. So perhaps there's a communication issue there, and then they're not about us, and they've crashed, and they're going to try and communicate dying, help, injured, sort of thing.
Or please tell us how to kill you so we can just pass it on before we die.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. We're the scout recon team, and we just need to finish our mission.
Exactly. Let's cut to the chase. How do we do away with you guys? We love this planet. We want it for ourselves.
Let's get straight to business.
Exactly. And the weird thing that we've said, remember that whole Anjali thing with the desert and the whole aliens in the cave and that whole bit? Her thing is...
Oh, did you get your popcorn ready?
Yeah, right. She contends that the aliens are telling us as humans our primitive language is what's holding us back because we can't lie to each other if we communicate telepathically. So, as a result of that, if they communicated to people telepathically and asked the question, you couldn't lie because the lie would come up and then what they said or tried to transmit would also... Right, so they'd be able to know. So just by asking, they would have access to the information based on what she's saying, right? Because you can't lie to each other actually communicating telepathically. So if you're like, hey, what's the best way to kill you guys? And like all the things, nukes, disease, all the stuff would pop into your head, but you'd be like, we're impervious to all the things, right? But come on now, they already saw you gave it away telepathically. Yeah, I don't know. Weirdness here, man. So were there aliens there at Roswell?
I think there's definitely something there. I mean, it's funny that when Night Stalker mentioned the in-between space, and people say, Roswell and that, but, he talks about portals a lot, but wasn't there a closer town, a smaller, like little village called Corona that was a bit closer? So technically, do you know what I mean? It's Corona, portals, stars, it just happens just for that's funny that's in there as part of it, because I think Colonel Corso's book was a crash at Corona. So,
I think that's what actually happened, and it's said it's in Roswell, but I think there was a second. According to Linda Moulton Howe, there's a second crash in Corona, I believe, and according.
I wonder an idea that it was an escape pod, perhaps, or something, or two things hit each other. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Exactly. I don't know. So what are your theories on this then regarding Roswell and the UFOs and Einstein? Do you think this is plausible, or do you think WTF?
Yeah, I think it is. And I think it's one of those things that's like, you kind of can't straight, like I said, I'm sort of trying to reiterate, I don't know if I've just explained it very well, but yeah, perhaps you just can't conceive it until you've had, enough. I'm glad you just brought it up, Mike, and the time thing, the movie Arrival. If you've seen the movie Arrival with that guy who plays Barton, the Archer guy in the Marvel movies. Well, in Arrival, these aliens have turned all these big ships in cities all over the world, and they're all trying to figure out, why they're here. And it turns out that they've given us a gift, and it's this gift of language, but it's a new type of language that helps us see past time. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that's the same sort of thing. you know. And I think that it would have that kind of although kind of joking about the pink mantis beings and I think she's going to perhaps fall on the face. I've been mentioning it to you in private, but I think the point that she's making there is actually a really, really valid point. And I've often thought that myself. In fact, when I was studying counselling at university, I said, "Oh, wouldn't it be great if we could do this?" And really, and you know, people were horrified at the notion that we could just all see each other's stuff just naked. And I thought, well, you know, I tried to keep my head relatively clean and accept all the parts of me I don't mind. But, you know, I probably got boundary issues, do you know what I mean? But yeah, can you imagine that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what we're talking about. There's some weirdness here, and that's what this is all about anyway. So you're going to give it the plausible. You're gonna say plausible here?
Yeah, I'm gonna lean in about 10% on
maybe. All right, a little bit better than maybe juice.
A little bit more.
Okay, a little bit more. All right.
I'm on a limb, sipping a bottle. Okay. I'm crawled out on a limb, and I've got some maybe juice on the end, and I'm being a bit cocky.
Okay, dancing around a little bit. Settle down. You might make a crack, buddy. You might fall off. All right, fantastic stuff. Our good buddy Rohan here. Again, follow his podcast. Just launched. He's got 2 episodes out, a third one on the way. Am I right?
Yeah, third one just come out today, actually. I scheduled it. I'll figure out scheduling, Mike. So, yeah. Thanks for promoting. Like I say, check Jennifer's channel. It's really, really good, honestly.
Yes. Check Jennifer's.
I've not checked Night Stalkers yet, but I didn't know about that, actually. So, nice one.
Yeah, Night Stalkers. He's got one with Dave Cruz. Check Beyond the Strange on YouTube. It's actually on Twitch, Beyond the Strange. You'll find it there. Again, lots of amazing people that call in and contribute to the show. There's no reason we shouldn't be spreading the love. So go give these folks some love, guys. They do amazing stuff as well. As you can tell when they call in and just really expand our minds with some of these theories and ideas. You're the best, my friend. Look forward to more good stuff from you on this show and also on your own show. Let me know if you want me to be part of that at some point. I'd love to. All right, my man?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be it's a good idea, actually. Nice one. Oh, thanks a lot, Mike. Brilliant. Great, super brilliant show.
Thank you. Thanks for the call. You're the best. Our good friend Liam Martin. Rohan, the mighty Rohan. All right, let's go to... all right, so we're looking to hear from you guys. If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. The website is all cleaned off and good. No hackers, no script kiddies. They've been evicted, and website's good, 702-957-1037. Phone number's on troubledminds.org, and also the Discord link. Get in here. Come say hi. Come hang out. Come meet some great people. As you can tell, all the amazing people that call into this show, most of them, like 95+% of them, are also in the Discord. Come say hi. Come hang out. And it's turning into quite a community, not because of me, because of you, because of us, right? Like I say, I'm me, you're you, but together we're us. And that us becomes a very powerful thing, and Discord's the great way to find out. Just hop in there and say hi. troubledminds.org, click the Discord link, and let's go to our good buddy Boomer. Austin in Michigan. What's up, my man? Test 1 2. Do you copy? Austin? Ow. Okay, whenever you're ready, my man. All right, so we're talking tonight about, again, Einstein student claims both were taken to examine Roswell craft and beings. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to make sure Austin can hear in case he's there. And I'm going to play another clip from this individual. Her name is Dr. Shirley Wright, a student of Albert Einstein at Princeton, claims she was taken along with Einstein to examine the crashed craft from the Roswell UFO incident. Here we go. We're going to pick up where we left off in the beginning at part 4. She was describing the crash, how she ended up there. It was a hangar. It was a busted up thing. Listen to this.
Do you remember what they said? Obviously, they're so obviously superior. Why would they want to come to Earth? What did they say? Well, this one indicated, at least telepathically, like they don't have a sex like we do, so I can't say he or she or something. It indicated that they were exploring intergalactic space, what we would call intergalactic space. He didn't call it that. Search a better source than where they were. They were running into a problem where they are from because of some physical condition, energy-wise. And they needed to go some other place. And so we took it that they were wanting to maybe colonize some other place.
and they were finding that Earth was entirely unsuitable to them. That's why because they found out that we are not at their level at all, so they had nothing to fear from us.
How little they know. I think they would have a lot to fear. But they still didn't know what happened to their propulsion system that would have brought them down?
No, they didn't exactly know. They knew that it was a malfunction of something, but they didn't know. And in fact, one being just on the verge of trying to go with a couple engineers and scientists into it in more detail when he succumbed. It succumbed, and they couldn't bring him back.
All right, so this is a little bit weird because there's some theories on the ground, right, in ufology forever, including Tom DeLonge, right, of all people. He talks about Starfish Prime and some of these things where they were doing the nuclear tests off of, the Bikini Islands and things like this. That they were these craft are flying around all the time. We just can't see them because they're sort of phased in and out of the reality, right? So when a nuke goes off, it knocks them out of the sky because they don't see it coming. They don't expect it. And that's maybe what is going on here is why, so she describes them as not really knowing or understanding why they crashed. They were trying to figure it out. And yeah, exactly. What's up? Terminal Arc says, so he dies before revealing secrets, right? He bit on his poison tooth, right? Like offed himself. He's all, no, we're not giving you the technology. Right? Yeah. So maybe. Yeah. But anyway, that's what we're talking about tonight. Love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. Going to play a couple more to kind of bridge the gap and get us to the point where this individual, once again, Dr. Shirley Wright, a student of Albert Einstein at Princeton, claims she was taken along with Einstein to examine the crash craft from Roswell, the UFO incident, and of course was able to not herself directly communicate, but she was there watching people communicate with these dying aliens. All right, so here we go. Here's another clip. Let's go.
Were they only one ship, or were they just there by themselves as a scout ship, or were there any others in the Armada?
They claimed there were 8. That was a Maverick that somehow lost position or something. I don't know whether it was a time warp or what, but they got out of the direction where the others were even going. And one ship he claimed crashed in Siberia in the same group. Of course, he didn't know what it was called, but we told him it's the United States.
Did he say where they were from and what star system? You said, and were they from this galaxy?
They indicated to us that they were not from our galaxy, definitely not from our galaxy. And the star system, the name was absolute gibberish to us. We didn't know what it meant.
Was that at that point in time? Do you have any knowledge whether we found that star system now?
So far as I know, we still have it unknown.
And how many people were around when you were there, or were there government people? Were there other scientists?
Government people, there were military people, there were scientists, there were lower echelon people. There were many individuals about both men and women, many people.
How did you get from where you were with the scientist you were with to that point of where the ship
and military vehicles to the site?
Were you interrogated at all before they allowed you to see this?
No, because I was just sort of in the background, and I was just, I had no positive, even fifth or sixth line interest in it or anything. I was just to begin assisting the scientist that I was with and part of his entourage, so to speak.
So yes, confirmed. Albert Einstein had an entourage. And this young lady at the time was part of it. And she was his assistant, his direct assistant, a student of his from Princeton, and she describes actually seeing the craft. Notice, again, right, were you there? What was going on? Some of these questions, like how close were you? She says, no, I was in the back. Like I wasn't anywhere up near aliens or anything like that. I was witnessing what was going on, right? So there's some stuff here. By the way, I want to point this out too. This information comes from, and again, I didn't have a full chance to go deep dive into this to see if this was a situation that was, I don't know, like I can't vet this, right? You kind of can't, because we have a deceased individual and, the statements from back from 1993 surfacing now from Anthony Bragalia, all right, UFOexplorations.com. And you can find all this information, including the interview, right there on the page. And there you go. We've got Sheila Franklin is involved. Shirley Wright held 2 PhDs, of course, was the individual. We've got, who else? There's another individual in here, another UFO researcher. But anyway, point being, this is where all this information came from. So it appears we have one source, and then everybody's running with it, very much like the Anjali story, if you guys remember that, the aliens in the cave. It was one source, and everybody kind of ran with it. So I don't know. Like I said, I haven't been able to vet another source other than there's the individual in here. Let's see. If you read the article, I'm going to link it so you guys can check it out. Please do. Please give this guy some love for bringing this story out. And there you go. UFOexplorations.com, Anthony Bragalia, and there you go. That's where all the information's about, where it comes from. Okay, so there we go. Back to this other article, and let's do it. Let's go to Austin. Look and hear from you. What are your thoughts on this? Einstein student claims both were taken to examine Roswell craft and entities or beings, extraterrestrials, as it were. So 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. Austin, what's up, buddy? Are you there? Test 1, 2. Austin. Oh, Austin. Austin in Michigan. What's up, buddy? Are you there? Okay. All right. Bumped. Let me know if you get it fixed. Okay. Daryl, I haven't heard from Daryl. She's in the caller queue, but she bounces out from time to time, so I don't know. So if you're ready, let me know, Daryl, and we'll get. Let's see. Let's try again. Says Austin. Let's go. Let's try this again. Austin in Michigan. Welcome to the show. Can you hear me? Test 1, 2. Nothing. You're in there. I see you there. You are not prepared. Sorry. Okay, all right. Looking here from you guys. What are your thoughts on this? 702-957-1037. Reboot, Austin. Reboot and see if we can get you in and reboot your either phone or Discord or both, and we'll see if we can get you in. All right, so I don't know. Yeah, Terminal Art says it said it was posted in a book where she was given an alias. Yeah, so again, if you go back, so there's some individuals here involved that I think are notable, that it's worth looking at. Let's see. Okay. UFO searcher Anthony Bragalia, which is the guy, which we said UFOexplorations.com. Check that out. He gave Einstein's assistant. Okay, here we go. This is where this came from. Wright's Roswell story was originally told by the late UFO researcher Leonard Stringfield in entries in his privately published early 1990s status report, UFO Crash Retrievals monograph series. And I did find that. Here's a version from Linda Moulton Howe, if you check the links down below. And it doesn't seem to be formatted very well, so I'm not sure what's redacted and what's not there. But the actual book itself is right here. And I couldn't find a free PDF version to scan real quick, but here you go. Here's the information. Going to paste it in the chat for you guys if you want to check it out. This is the individual by the name of Leonard Stringfield, who has now passed away, but he was supposedly the one doing the work on this back in the early 90s when he told her story initially. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's because it's been sort of out of the zeitgeist for a while. That when it gets back in, maybe when in 1993 or whatever this is. We were quite a bit younger. Maybe some of us were children or not even born, or who knows, right? So maybe that's what's going on. It's kind of recycling back into into the zeitgeist, and that's why I'm seeing it for the first time, and maybe you guys as well. So, okay, anyway, let's go to Daryl in New York. Daryl, are you there? That's 1, 2. Daryl, are you there? What's up, Allison? How are you? The maybe juice. Yeah. Jennifer says, different universe, galaxy, star system is important, not from ours. It could still be possible that they have a different star cycle.
Okay, I got it. Can you give me this? Okay, I'm here.
Okay, all right.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you mute the stream? I can hear myself in the back. Pretty please.
You still hear you?
Well, maybe the back end of it. I think you got it just as
There's 2 Discords on. That's why. Let me get rid of one Discord.
I think you're good.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get rid of one, and I'll go into the other.
Let's wait just a sec. I think you're okay. I think I caught the end just as you muted it. All right. Anyway, welcome to the show, Daryl. Welcome to the show. So here's where this came from. UFO crash retrieval status report part 4. Again, I linked it. I think linked it for everybody. And there you go. Let's see. Let me go. Okay, there I did link it. All right. Thank you for letting me know Daryl's ready. All right, Daryl. What do you think? What do you think, my friend? What's going on here tonight? What is with this Einstein and Roswell and all the rest of this?
I think that obviously the aliens are very smart, and they probably said, oh, God, how are we going to get off this planet? I know. Let's call the smartest guy on the planet. Let's get Einstein here, you know? Somebody bring this up already?
Not yet, no.
I would call Einstein, you know. Who would you call today? Like, who's the smartest guy on the planet now? Well, he died, I guess, right? What was his name? I thought he was pretty smart. Stephen Hawking.
Oh yeah, Stephen Hawking. Yeah, that's a good one. That would be a good pick for sure. I definitely wouldn't go Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'd probably go Elon Musk before him. But yeah, I mean, it's debatable, right? Like again, you probably ask 1,000 people, get 1,000 different answers. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? Again, Einstein was again supposedly part of the Philadelphia experiment, like Rohan was saying. He supposedly was involved in like the nuclear fission and all that stuff as they were creating the atomic bomb. So, I mean, his name pops up quite a bit when something notable happens in the zeitgeist back in, mid or end of World War II type stuff. So it makes sense to me. It like I said, if you can get past the fact that maybe there were extraterrestrials or whatever they are, entities of such, it doesn't surprise me a bit that Einstein ended up there. That part is not hard for me to believe.
Something about Einstein too. I think they might have used. There's more rumors that they were using him like as he was so smart that he was almost a download. You know what I'm saying? He had such brilliance. I don't think you could say that about anybody today. Like Tesla, or another one, always had it that he was getting downloads. That he was so brilliant. You know what I'm saying? So maybe they needed another Earthling, you know, quickly to download to. They said, "Ooh, who's left?" You know. Let's get Einstein. I don't know. Just saying.
Yeah,
I think they might have wanted to leave him some knowledge, though he was a little old. But he was a good candidate. I mean, probably even like, when you think about it, how many of the brilliant people that we know in the history that might have had a download. Maybe they had a download. They were so smart and ahead of their time,
Yeah, Tesla said that he attributed his knowledge not to himself, but he was able to tap into something else. So you're really? Exactly right. Yeah, that's what he said. That it's a quote from him, that he was not taking credit. He was able to access something somewhere else, and he wasn't able to describe what it was, but he was able to describe that the ideas didn't come from himself. And so, interesting that he was maybe some sort of channeling or whatever else was going on with that. Quick shout out real quick too. It looks like we got somebody new over on Rockfin. I want to say what's up to Sweet Drifter. It says, where are the reptilians? That's a good question, brother. That's a good question, brother. Thanks for showing up. All right. So I don't know. So again, the Einstein there doesn't blow my mind. The aliens being there, dying, communicating telepathically with people, a whole like hangar full of people, that part blows my mind. What do you think about that?
Oh, I think that it's possible. I think there were dying aliens, just according to a couple of people that were on their deathbeds talking about this kind of stuff. Well, the guy that was talking to J. Ron, who took care of this alien supposedly for 5 years, he was so desperate. I heard him live on like something like third phase of the moon one night. You know, he called in. He was a call-in, and boy, he was so desperate. The Army had just like totally disrespected him. Like they took away his pension. They tried to like shut him up, and they tried to discredit him. And he had so much to tell. Like he was just like whistleblowing, like as crazy. He needed money though, you know. But I could tell there was something truthful about him. Anybody heard that third phase of the moon show? I was lucky to hear it. When I heard that, I just was blown away by what he said. And I think he was talking about J-Ron. I'm not even sure if it's the same person that was with J-Ron or not. But and I'm not sure if it was J-Ron. It could have been a different alien. But he was responsible for talking to one of these guys. And the way he described it, what he described, I mean, we took care of them as long as we could. But they couldn't survive on our planet forever. They just weren't equipped. Or, maybe they were too sensitive, or we didn't feed them the right thing. But they weren't thriving here for sure, especially in captivity. They weren't exactly allowed to be free. You can't set a little alien loose. It's not like E.T.,
Well, it stands to reason that we have so many people incarcerated here in the United States. Give me my soapbox for just 10 seconds. That's if an alien showed up, we'd throw his ass straight in jail anyway, wouldn't we?
Right?
I mean, that's the place for them.
Exactly. I don't know if they had Einstein as hostage. Who knows, They were lucky to have anybody to talk to. They were probably, who was the hostage? How did they even get Einstein? How were they delivered? How did we deliver anybody to them? What was the negotiating thing? Did they have really any negotiating skills at that point, or were they telepathically, how good were they with their little magic from outer space, And how rude were they to say, "Oh, you guys don't know shit."
Yeah, didn't they? They straight up told her and everybody else that was listening that they understood that we were technologically inferior. Or basically, you don't know shit.
Right. So how come you crashed, dudes? If you're so technologically smart, what happened to you?
There you go.
I think that was tit for tat there. You're so smart. How'd you get in this predicament?
If I'm five-star general and I'm there talking to aliens, I want Daryl with me to trash talk back. Be like, oh yeah, who's crashed now? I'm like, Daryl, you're being sassy. Get him.
Who needs who now?
Exactly.
You should get some respect when you come to another planet.
Exactly.
Talk like that when we go to your planet.
Yeah.
Have some manners. Where are you guys from?
Yeah. Well, exactly.
You don't have manners up there. Where do you come from? You don't have manners.
Yeah, I guess.
You ever met another race before? Are you racist?
Oh boy, we don't got to go.
Thank you.
All right. So what do you think then? Do you think it's probable, plausible, or just this is outlandish that Einstein was invited to be there? Number one. And number two, what do you think actually happened at Roswell? Let's get your thoughts on that stuff.
Oh, I'm sure don't you think that was a crash? I don't even know if it was a crash. I think we probably shot them down. We're not very polite to anybody that comes into our skies. If we don't recognize it, we're not even going to play. It's not very plausible that we'll have disclosure the way we behave. In view of how we've behaved in the past. All we do is throw as much military as we can at them. And it hasn't worked yet, but maybe it worked that one time. Maybe, they were just not on their guard that one time. The other times that they crashed is probably not our fault. It was probably their fault. That might have been anytime they get down, they might have been, sleeping on the job, or they had something. But I'm sure we were prepared to shoot him down. Might not be that smart, as they are, but we were smart enough to shoot him down.
Yeah,
brilliant.
It seems like it was an accident. So according to, again, to the individual here, which is Dr. Shirley Wright, PhD, which ended up a student of Einstein at Princeton, and supposedly, by her own word and admission, she was there at Roswell with Einstein to view the crashed craft and also communicate with extraterrestrials. So she says it happened, all right? But then she also says that they asked them why they crashed and the aliens didn't know. The entities, let's say because alien. Now alien, you can't even say alien anymore because that's a loaded term also. But the entities didn't know. They didn't know why.
The worlders.
Yeah, right. Whatever it is, right? Being
bad answer on her part. Yeah, how come? How come we haven't heard of her before? Wasn't she sworn to secrecy? How are we hearing from her now?
So I'm going to play the rest of the clips as we go tonight. We got a little bit more time here.
Yeah, but
Okay, don't go anywhere. I'm gonna set it up so you can hear it. Okay, it's set. Let's play the next clip. You stay right there. Don't go anywhere. We're gonna play clip number 6. Here we go. This is Dr. Shirley Wright, a student of Albert Einstein at Princeton, who supposedly was at Roswell with him, examining the crash saucer, and supposedly Einstein and the powers that be were communicating with these aliens. Let's hear this next clip. Here we go.
And that's why I was there, and I was just permitted to be there.
How did you feel when you saw this and saw what was taking place?
Well, I was quite overwhelmed and awed. Real or fantasy, I wondered whether there was somebody playing a terrible untruth on us. It's just that the people, there was such activity, behavior, and interest on the part of people, I knew it was something serious. But otherwise, you'd think you were almost in part of some science fiction portrayal. I mean, some set or something.
Did you have a security classification at that point in time, or they just let you in without any kind of...
We all had the security clearance.
Was that immediately before you went there, or had you had one when you were working with the science?
I had one when I was working with Einstein. And that security clearance was respected. The only reason we could go.
Is that secure act, or did they deactivate it after?
Oh, it was immediately deactivated.
In the other experiences you've had, the other work you've done, did you ever have any other kinds of security clearances?
I've never had a necessity since to have a security clearance. No. I had a paper by the government on the ultimate structure of matter and National Academy of Science, but I have had no security clearance.
Do you remember what they called that clearance that you had? Did they name it for you?
Okay, there you go. There's some additional information. Notice she said it's possible they were deceiving her, right? She noted it. She basically said, in newspeak, she was afeared of being trolled. But there was so much activity going on that she kind of cast that doubt aside because there was so much happening and people were so into this or freaking out a little bit. But think about that. Think about what that set on Close Encounters of the Third Kind possibly looked like with Richard Dreyfuss and the UFO landing in the plane, whatever that tune was that they're trying to communicate, right? That whole bit. Imagine. Now that's in real life in a military hangar with like a busted up UFO. I mean,
right? I'm thinking he would have needed like a doctor to check his blood pressure. I mean, the shock of seeing an alien for the first time. She was pretty young, but he was already in his twilight years. He was like he didn't live much longer after that. He had about another 13 years left of his life. 47. He died in what? 58. 48. I forget what year did he die?
I'm not sure.
Anyway, he was not a young man by then. I'm thinking I would have been very worried about his health. Even younger men that have claimed to see aliens have had had to replace their underwear after they saw them. They were so nervous,
1955. 1955 is when he passed away.
Right. So 47 to 55. He was already old. So I would have been worried about his health, The shock of that, like the preparedness to meet an alien must have been of the highest security level. You had to make sure that people were very prepared. How prepared would you make someone of the Einstein caliber? So I think he was probably very open to the idea by then. But I would have been very worried about his health first of all. So there would have been a doctor on board. I'm thinking. Like you can't assume just because he's a dude that he would have handled the whole thing okay. I mean, how would you handle it? And not his, even younger than him. People don't, would probably flip out.
Yeah,
you have to have security and a lot of psychological training almost. And how did she handle it? She thought it was a joke. Wasn't that part of her that they look so different? Is this real? And the seriousness of it, the whole psychological part of it would flip me out.
Yeah, and she even considered it. She considered the fact that she may have been the subject of some experimentation, maybe a psychological experiment. She didn't say it directly, but by clearly admitting that she was being trolled, possibly, it did cross her mind. It seemed so outlandish that maybe this is some sort of, they're putting us on, right? This is a gag. But then what convinced her was everybody else around her taking it so seriously. Like I said, there's some pretty compelling testimony here. And again, this is the only time, again, correct me if I'm wrong, the only time I've ever heard anybody speak from their own mouth in an interview, audio or video type thing where they described being at the aftermath of the Roswell crash. Ever.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's true. You don't hear that many out of the horse's mouth. You might have heard it from their grandchildren. Really, not even their children.
Or
it's like the grandkids of the farmer that found the piece of mylar,
Exactly. Or Philip Corso, you hear from his kids now. But he wrote the book, but still, he's passed away. So, as far as I know, he never did an interview on tape where he discussed this type of stuff.
Ooh.
I don't know. Maybe he did. Maybe it was redacted. I don't know. This is the weirdness of this. I don't know.
It's been a big secret, and it keeps on the alien autopsy. Is that real? Was it real? First it was real, then it's not real. Now it's real. I don't know. Was those the same sort of aliens that had crashed? And are they the same aliens? Was that from the same kind of fleet? The alien autopsy. I'd like to know the connections there.
Yeah, agreed. 100%. So do you think, Daryl, that there was some sort of shenanigans at Roswell, meaning aliens or something? Do you think that actually happened?
I wonder if you think that happened, are they still there also? Is that possible? Is that where they are, housed, or is that the level of the earth that they live on, underneath the ground? Is that where they're... I heard that too, that there's like a elevator that goes down to the alien level. You don't want to stop at that floor because you'll have to be prepared to fight. You'll have to have a war on that level. Did you ever hear that one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That guy was talking about that too. He described Area 51 just like Bob Lazar and just like David Adair.
Phil
guy
Schneider,
that was like...
Phil Schneider?
I don't know this. I swear I never found out his name. I tried to get him on a radio show. So this guy will talk on anything. He's so broke. Then I found out he did die. He was dying, and he did die. And I can't really connect the dots. I'd have to find that version of the podcast from Third Phase of the Moon that he called in on live. Because he was like it was the one person that the guy didn't hang up on fast. I'm like, well, let him talk. We didn't think he was a troll or anything, and his story was so good. Usually, you have like 5 seconds to tell your story on Third Phase of the Moon when they used to have live podcasts, when they had call-ins. And this time, I was in the chat room, we were letting this guy talk. He was so compelling. So I'm pretty sure. It could have been Phil Schneider. I'm not sure who it was.
No, Phil Schneider was the guy who had the firefight with aliens. He died back in the, I think, early 90s as well.
Maybe it was him. Maybe it was. No, he died in the 90s now. Yeah. This guy died recently.
Okay, yeah.
In like 2015, 16, something like that.
Yeah, that's before YouTube. So Third Phase, actually, Grant from Third Phase called on the show a long time ago. It was a really weird exchange. And yeah. And like, he kind of, I hadn't really heard of him at that point, but then I don't know, it was weird. It's way in the past. But I said, hey, I sent him an email after, hey, if you're going to be, if you want to work together, let me know. Don't just like hijack the freaking thing and tell me. And then he never answered me. So, okay. There you go. Thanks, Third Phase.
Interesting.
Thanks, Grant, for Third Phase.
Blake Cousins, I think his name is.
Yeah, Blake. It was Blake. It's Blake and Grant.
Blake, yeah. He had a great call-in show. Like, it was 1 hour on Friday. It was like a short and sweet thing. People wait 1 week to get on that show. So you had to call in with something hot or else you were off, Had to call in with something for real to say.
If you don't have aliens,
no trouble.
Get off the line. We want the aliens. We want the aliens.
We want your real video. We want your real story, you know?
Exactly.
It was good. And if they didn't have any call-ins, it would be a short show, you know? Well, that's it, guys. No. Somebody might call in.
Don't go. There you go. That's how I extort the call-ins. I'm like, all right, I'll just end it. Later, guys. Have a good night.
I'm telling you, you had to be fast there. You know, usually there was such a queue for the phone. You were lucky to get your phone call in, you know? You'd be on queue forever, and then boom, that's it. You'd hear the end music. You're like, oh, damn, I had a live video. It's like live right now. Damn. You'd never get on, you know? You call in next week.
Yeah,
sometimes you get lucky.
Nice
Sometimes
try.
you get lucky.
Nice try. All right, Daryl. I'm going to leave you here, okay? We got Boomer. We're going to try him real quick. If not, we'll come right back to you. You're the best. Thanks, Daryl. That's Daryl in New York. Fantastic stuff. Just so you know, let's see. Ronald over on Rockfin says, Daryl is awesome. She should have her own show. There you go. There it is. See, we got fans here. Good stuff, Daryl. Thank you. Okay, let's go to let's try Austin one more time. Austin, what's up, buddy? Can you hear me? Test 1 2.
Oh yeah, it works now.
Oh snap! What'd you do, Boomer?
I restarted my phone.
I knew it. Audio bug. Welcome to the show. What's up, my man? What do you think about this stuff?
It's freaking awesome. It was probably the beginning, one of the first milestones of my aspiration to research this stuff was hearing about Roswell. Because there was this game called Destroy All Humans that I played when I was a child. And it's all based on the Roswell thing. And you're basically like a great alien that your goal is to destroy all humans and to stop people from smoking pot. Nice. So you can it's crazy. It's a crazy game. It's an old 2000s game, like PlayStation 2, you know?
That's all. Don't kill the aliens, kids, but also don't do drugs.
Yeah.
Don't do drugs. All right. So
it was crazy.
So what do you think happened at Roswell then? What's your theory here?
Well, I've only seen a few newspapers and watched a couple documentaries here and there. And after listening to the show a little bit on what other people were saying, I think it's one of Einstein was there with listening to the lady, the accomplice or the assistant for Einstein. That was really interesting. It kind of gave me an enhanced idea, and now I'm just like, it just tells me something's bigger, something way bigger is happening, and this is only like a little crumb of what's actually happening. It makes me think about all these rumors you hear of us having treaties with like some kind of worldly federation or something, and like maybe different parts of the planets that are owned by different species of the universe. It just makes me run through so many different theories. It seems like the further you go into this stuff, you just get more questions.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's asking the questions here, the right questions. And I don't know what to believe, to be honest, because there's so much involved in this. Well, let's say in the mythology of Roswell itself, that when we're so far removed, we're like an entire human lifetime away from that. So it is dipping further and further into an actual mythology, meaning it's the meaning is you have to take firsthand accounts, right? Probably more seriously. You have to be able to parse this information to even consider having one way or the other. Because like I said, it seems absurd that it was just weather balloons, right? The press back then reported a crashed flying saucer. And it seems absurd to consider that, well, a flying saucer also crashed and there were alien bodies and like dying aliens communicating telepathically with Albert Einstein. You know what I mean? Like, holy crap, right? I just want to punch myself in the face considering both of those things. But, well, here we are. Here we are. Yeah. I don't know.
Being as dumb as I know I am, it's got to be possible.
Which part? Which part? Punching yourself in the face?
That
I'll prove it. Hold on, watch
that. Yeah, sure, yeah, that
No,
too. All of it, all the above.
Okay, all the above. All right, so all the above is possible. What do you think happened, though? Do you think it was aliens?
I would say more likely than not.
You can say no. Okay, so 60-40, probably aliens?
Yeah.
All right, I'm probably with you right
because,
around there. Yeah.
And then there's the whole thing of alien itself. Alien means that we don't know what it was. So yeah, 100% alien then.
All right, so 60-40 aliens, but 100% alien. All right, see what we just did with the math? That's voodoo math. And trust the science. Yeah. Trust the science, baby. I tell you what. All right, so I don't know, man. I don't know. What about the
exactly?
You've been listening to the eyewitness testimony of our friend here who's passed away now, Dr. Shirley Wright, who says she was there with Einstein. You've been hearing some of this?
Not the full thing, but the little bits and pieces you've shared on the show, yeah. Okay. And that sounded really interesting. And it made me think more about it in a way that I haven't before, because I don't think if I have looked into that, I was like really stoned or something and I forgot, or I don't know, like I don't do drugs anymore, so I'm clean. Thank you everybody for patting me on the back on the show.
Congratulations.
Yeah, there's got to be something. Roswell. Oh, there was another one close to Roswell. What was that one?
Corona.
Not this. The
Corona.
one.
Corona.
They don't talk about. Oh, yeah. I think there's another one too.
Corona. And
I think there was
in the interview, she said there were 8 craft and 1 crashed in Siberia. We'll probably get to that next. So she said 1 crashed in New Mexico, 1 crashed in Siberia. That leaves 6 unaccounted for, as far as we're aware, from the footage that we got here, from the audio interview.
I got a couple curveballs. So in LA and in Washington DC, there was like newspapers about like huge fleets of something in the sky that we were actually shooting at. And we had like spotlights and air raid sirens and crap, and we couldn't shoot any of them down.
Battle of Los Angeles.
Yeah, okay. And then there was a bunch that was over DC, but I don't think we did anything with those.
That was 1954, I want to say. The UFO flap of the White House. Yeah. I'm familiar with most of these stories. Like most of the major ones I've heard of, we've talked about. And so that's why it surprises me that this is so kind of like buried in the mythology here that I'd never heard this, the idea that Einstein was at Roswell. That's why I was a little shocked. And why, to be perfectly honest, why I ignored it at first. I was like, nah, come on, nah, get out of here, come on, man. And then, well, it just keeps persisting. They just keep pushing it back into the news cycle, which this article today, it was yesterday, or the 21st, actually, a couple days ago, was from the Pulse.1, and again from Anthony Bragalia, and he keeps updating this. That was October, November 2021. He's got dated because he keeps updating this stuff. But yeah, I don't know, man. You tell me. I don't know what to think anymore.
I think this is going to be twisted through the big platforms. I think they're going to use this. I feel like it leaked out. And now they're going to like twist it on like big public medias sometime like at the end of this year or next year. I think they're going to do something with this story. I don't know what they're going to do, but I feel like it's definitely a ripe target for manipulation.
It's that's the thing that drives me the most crazy, because even if something legit kind of plops out like this, let's call this perfectly 100% legit just for conversation's sake, and then knowing what the disinfo intel would do with something like this after the fact, or even maybe leak it now for a particular reason, who knows, right? I think that's the weirdness of all this, and why people with answers always make me nervous, because where are the answers coming from? If it's like a deep-seated belief, it's okay to say that, right? I don't know the answer, but I feel this may be it, is one thing, but like always declaring answers makes me nervous. It makes me nervous. It sounds like church to me, and no offense to church.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of gave me the creeps when I used to go to church.
Especially when the answers, if you don't have the same answers, then you're a threat, you know? You know what I'm saying? That mindset. It's like it's kind of why that's dangerous. Like historically, it's always been like, it's kind. I don't want to really bring this up on the show, but there's an ideology that has never really died, and if you don't believe in it, then you're a reptilian shapeshifter, and you're a traitor of the human race. You know, like,
it's a trap,
and it's
yeah.
And it's not even really that big of a deal because if you believe one or the other, you still, what does that change about your life? Like a day-to-day basis, you're still going to take out the trash every Thursday, right? So.
Yeah, or something. All right. You're the best. Thanks for getting your Discord working, man. When in doubt, guys, reboot. And if it comes up a blue screen, sorry. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You're the best, man. Final thought. We got to finish this up. I got a couple more clips to play, and we got to wrap this sucker up.
Final thought.
Yes.
Trust. Take notes on yourself. Get a journal and a pencil or a pen and write down everything that ever happens, the worst and the best, and study the crap out of yourself. And I feel like it'll really help you investigate all and get through all this deception that you'll see investigating this stuff, because you realize you got to apply it or you're going to lose it. The knowledge that you get, you got to do something with it, or it's just going to get lost in your massive obsession with collecting information. And yeah, it's just it was an addiction for me for a while, and that's enough said.
All right, perfect. Good stuff. You're welcome to stay there if you want to listen to the rest of it. Just mute up, and you don't have to kick back to the stream and do the delay and all that stuff. So appreciate the call.
Okay, sweet.
Appreciate it. That's Austin in Michigan. I was about to say Massachusetts. Austin in Michigan. Thanks for the call, my brother. All right, so I don't know what's going on with this. There's some weirdness to all this. Like I said, it is strange that it's kind of recircling back into the news cycle now. Is it because this Anthony Bragalia guy brought it up? Which again, go check him out. He's got some good stuff over there on his site. He does some FOIA stuff as well, and notably got into a little spat with John Greenwald Jr. over the FOIA stuff. If he was actually on his show for a little bit, so just FYI. And clearly they don't agree on a lot of things, and well, it is what it is, right? Like, you know, you get two people, you can always drum up some sort of drama, and that's what that is. So yeah, good stuff. All right, so I got a couple more clips to play to round out the rest of this. If you guys have thoughts on any of this stuff, Einstein, Roswell, his assistant again by the name of Dr. Shirley Wright, a student of his at Princeton, claimed she was taken to Roswell with Einstein himself, and they saw a busted up UFO and also a dying aliens. Okay. All right. Here we go. So remember on the last clips, she said that she was aware that it's possible she was being trolled. So here we go. A couple more clips to play. We'll finish this up.
I don't even recall that except I'd have to look that up. I don't know whether I even have a note on that.
The program that you're working on with Einstein, was it funded by the government or was it a university grant?
Grant to him at that university at that time to have outstanding students from around the country picked to work with him that particular summer in nuclear chemistry.
Did you have a title that was given to you while you worked there?
Special student.
Did he take any other students with him?
No, I was the only student.
Lucky you. Come on.
I was his pet. I have to admit that. I was. I have to admit that. There were 29 summer.
Were you there?
The only girl either.
When the last alien died, were you there at that point in time?
No, I wasn't. I was back at the motel in a city nearby, and I had been told, and I would be able to keep the being alive.
How many were there originally?
9. I saw 9, 8 bodies, and then later we communicated with that one, so there were 9.
And can you describe they were?
Oh, I sure can. I remember that very well.
Okay, which we played earlier at the end of the Fringe Hour there to squeeze that in to make sure that the people got to hear the pay dirt, right? What the aliens actually look like in a firsthand account. So she goes on to describe them again, being right like 5 foot, 5'5", grayish, greenish skin. They were in some sort of suit that was like a one-piece suit, including down to the shoes and boots or whatever they were. She said they had big eyes. They were very huge and notable on their face. Gray and brownish. There were no pupils to be had. Nose, maybe slits, but not a nose itself. Very much like you would describe a gray alien, right? And from pop culture and everywhere else. Exactly. Night Stalker caught that. She said that he was his pet, his Einstein's pet, right? Which is why he brought her. Again, a good relationship, maybe a great student. Who knows? I didn't want to go there, and I don't want to insinuate this because it's a long time ago and these people are deceased, and I don't mean it like that. But it is notable that Einstein was he wasn't faithful to his wives, right? So he's had 2 wives, and he's even infamously, in some quotes, said that something about the godliness of being faithful to the wife, type of thing. And he tried and he never could, or something like this. So I don't know. I'm not implying they were a thing. I'm implying that she said I wasn't the only female student, and so I don't know. I'm implying we don't know. Okay, we don't know. So anyway, here we go. One more clip, which is the final, and then we're done. We'll go to Jay. Hang tight, Jay. We'll be right with you, my friend. Let's go to, again, this is, we're listening to clips from a Dr. Shirley Wright, a student of Albert Einstein at Princeton, claims she was taken along with Einstein to examine the crashed craft from the Roswell UFO incident. She says there were 9 bodies, 8 deceased, and she was able to see one communicating telepathically with other people. Einstein maybe, military people maybe. She said there were doctors and scientists there and all kinds of people shuffling around, making her believe this is a real thing and not some sort of a troll or a psyop. So here we go. Let's go to the final clip. So again, so she describes them in detail, and then let's go to her final thought here, and then we'll get our final thoughts from Jay and talk to him, and let's wrap this up.
Did they tell you anything about of their lifestyle was there?
We tried to find that out before we could. They really, we were very interested in not antagonizing them at all, so to the point where we had them answer too many of ours. We never really found that out. We just knew that they don't live all above ground, according to what they told us. A lot of theirs what we would call subterranean.
Did they seem repelled by our appearance since they look so different?
Oh, they thought we were very odd.
Since you indicated that they were either androgynous or had no sex, did they mention how they procreated?
That was another thing which we asked them about, and we couldn't pin down either, but no, they indicated that they had this like we have at all.
Did they tell you how they reproduced? Did they refuse, or they just, nobody probed them?
No, they agree with that.
So they really were kind of limited in what they felt was appropriate to tell you?
I would say so, yes. I would say they were very careful what they revealed.
Did it seem like they wanted to have any kind of continual contact with this planet?
Very definitely, yes. However, they had already almost discounted this as a desirable place to come.
Oh, discounted this planet as a desirable place to come. So, for whatever reason, right, just as they had done the scouting mission and said, even though they could apparently breathe our atmosphere, they had no helmets to speak of, like astronauts you would expect. So we send the astronauts to the moon. They got the full moon suit, the helmets, the whole thing, right? Or they'll die in space from suffocation. Well, apparently they didn't have that at all. They had suits that were below their neck, and so they didn't need any kind of breathing apparatus, and they were actually able to communicate before they passed away and breathe our atmosphere. Notice a couple couple things at the end there that, 9 of them, she says. Remember earlier she said there were 8 craft. Another one crashed in Siberia. One crashed here in New Mexico, which leaves the other 6 unaccounted for. And they had determined that our planet was not a specimen for them, not an ideal place for them to move. Clearly, probably because of us, right? because right, like I said, they probably like scooped them up and threw them in prison faster than they could say, "What the fuck is going on Earth?" And well, then this is why we can't have nice things and why the aliens don't come say hello, because we throw them in jail. But anyway, there you go. There's the clips in their entirety from what we have, and again, these clips were from Anthony Bragalia. So I'm told on this other site that they're here we go. Just for the source on this. Let's see. I'm going to make sure I read this because you can see that apparently, according to this guy by the name of Arun Walia, I couldn't find the full interview in its entirety, but let's see. Okay, not Christopher Mellon. Okay, start the process. Blah blah blah. Okay, let's see. One moment. I want to read this because it's important to playing these clips. It says right here. UFO researcher Anthony Bragalia, who brilliantly uncovered his information, explains that Wright's Roswell story was originally told by the late UFO researcher Leonard Stringfield in entries in his privately published early 1990s status report, UFO Crash Retrievals Monograph Series. He gave Einstein's assistant Wright the pseudonym Edith Simpson to protect her name and family's privacy, but Stringfield did mention his book in the name of the researcher in Florida who met with Dr. Wright to interview her, a woman named Sheila Franklin. Franklin was active in the state's mutual UFO network, which of course was MUFON. Let's see, here we go. All right. The get-together was between Franklin and Wright. So Franklin was the MUFON investigator who was asking the questions. Wright was the PhD that worked with Einstein and was audio recorded. Franklin released the conversation into the public domain. So there you go. There's the source. That's why I played that in its entirety. And that's all I've got. That's all of it. I don't know where the rest is. I looked. I was digging. I couldn't find it. So what I have, if that's true, if they make me take it down, I'll take it down. But from that source, it says it was released to the public domain. I'm going to take this interview in its entirety and I'm going to put it up on YouTube on the bottom and on the actual what the heck just happened? Did the internet drop? Oh, the phone line dropped. All right. Anyway, I'm going to mute that, call back. Okay, anyway, so if you guys want to hear the interview in its entirety, I'm going to put it back up on our YouTube channel, the whole thing in its entirety. You can listen from beginning to end, exactly what she says, without me and us rambling in between. All right, there you go. That's the end of this. Jay, whenever you're ready, my friend, let's do this. Let's knock this out of the park. How you doing, bro?
Great, Mike. Pleasure to talk to you.
You as well.
And
you as well.
Everyone else. I mean, brilliant conversation today amongst everyone. One of the things that comes to my mind is my uncle. He used to work for Lockheed Martin Marietta, GE, and he was in the Navy for more than a little while and did really well for himself. When he died, there was a diary in between the giant toolboxes that you see when you walk into the thing. I'm sure I've told everybody this story before. And we were looking at it, and everybody else was like, what the hell is all this stuff in here? And it's like, what's scientific data? You know, it was his diary. And then I think about this video archive that came out. I remember seeing this. It wasn't too awful long ago, less than a year, that I heard about the video that we talked about today. And it was like a crappy VHS tape of her conversation with somebody asking her questions at some kind of a event, is what I remember seeing. And I also remember that my uncle used to be adamant about every time there was a family reunion or 4th of July or something like that, he'd put up his video camera and he would record what everybody was saying and he would ask them questions. Sometimes my little cousin at the time would be the interviewer because she wanted to be the newscaster and stuff. And I kind of think one of the reasons why something like that is just coming up now is because somebody went to the Salvation Army and bought a VHS player and put the tape in it and watched it and was like, holy crap. I got to share this with somebody, you know.
Right?
The dumb little paranormal video that we've talked about before and everything else like that. It's sitting on the corner of the woodshop bench right now. I finally found it.
Nice.
You know,
okay, you did find it.
It's those kind of things. I mean, you know, when I bought my house, there was a stack of VHS tapes that we just threw in the garbage because they didn't have Forrest Gump on it or something that we could sell for money.
Right. Can you imagine all the amazing shit that's been thrown in a landfill? My God.
Exactly. You know, I mean, it's highly possible all of what we talked about today is 100% legitimate, you know. It could have been as much as her niece asking her about it just to do something for an audio-visual report for some project in 10th grade, you know?
Right.
I mean, obviously, both of those women sound a little bit older than that. But, you know, I mean, Daryl brought up a great point is what was the time frame? Was it in, like, 1948 that she was there with Einstein? When she was a teeny bopper and a hot-looking little girl? Like, you know, the bad part of the chat went down there, but I mean that's a possibility, you know.
So she was 85 in 2015. 85 in 2015. So when she was born, let's see. So that means in 19. Let me do some quick math on here because I'm terrible at math, so I'm going to just punch it into it.
I'm running it through my head too. Who gets it first, Mike?
I got a calculator. I'm going to beat you. All right. So she was born in 2015 and she was 85 years old. That means she was born in, let's see, 1930. So in 1947, she would have been 17 years old. Yes, sir.
I had 29.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, I mean, she was a youngin'.
Yes, she was very young.
You know, I mean, you know, the whole thing about, you know, but a fly on the wall, Mike. I mean, the stupid carpenter, I know you don't like me to say that, but the thing is, though, is I'm just the guy fixing the door. You know what I mean? She's just a girl grabbing the coffee or taking down the notes when Albert says, hey, man, write the shit down.
When Einstein is communicating telepathically with aliens.
Right? Blah, 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 blah. Write that down.
Exactly how ridiculous does that sound? Yeah, so I'd like
you know, and to her, she was probably absolutely flabbergasted, like, WTF, I'm on candid camera.
Yeah, right.
And I know
exactly. Yeah, they're trolling me. Like I said, to use Newspeak, and she's like, no, I'm being trolled, right? But the seriousness of everybody around her convinced her otherwise. So, right, at least she had the prescience there to be able to say, wait a minute, this doesn't seem right, you know, something is not right here. But then, like, observing, I would do the same thing, to be honest. Like, if you find yourself in like a surreal moment, you kind of look around at everybody else, right? Like, if people are losing their
don't say nothing, don't do nothing, exactly. Just sit there and observe.
Exactly. I'm not going to go nuts, but I'm not going to go running out of the place screaming, but I'm going to see what everybody else is up to also, right? Because you'll know, you can see if people are rattled or being serious or, right? I don't know. Anyway, like I said, we got a first-hand account here, and so that's a good point. We didn't do the math on how old she was. So she was Einstein's assistant. He was what was he? 8 years from dying. He was a very old man, and she was 17 years old. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, a little number.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
A man is only as old as the woman he feels. Groucho Marx.
There you go. But again, like I said, I'm not implying there was anything extracurricular, right? But, you know, she said I was his pet, is what she used the term, right? Her term, not mine. So
right, and
anyway, so I don't want to make this hot for teacher sex type thing. Don't get me wrong, but just pointing out age discrepancies in what's happening here. It was a very long time ago for her, 1993. She's given this interview. This was back when she was 17. This is a long ass time ago. So just for time references and stuff, I want you guys to know. I'm not making accusations here. We don't know.
But, well, I mean, I was graduating high school at that time. You know, I was 3 years out of high school.
In 1947.
You know, when she gave the interview. But the thing is, though, she gave the interview, what, 40 years later?
Yeah, 40 years later. Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
You know, 45, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Not into the quick math, but.
Right.
You know, I mean, she's given her recollection of it, and you can tell how she stumbles off of her words, that she's being honest, you know. Well, I don't know. I can't remember, you know, it's hard.
Yeah. That's the thing too, right? Like, notice when people are like, they can't give you all the details, and they're like, I didn't catch that, or I can't remember, or right, things like this. To me,
let me think about it for a minute.
Yeah, let me think. Right, exactly. You're recalling like a memory, but you know how like, I don't know, like throw a name out there. I'm not going to throw a name out, but you know who they are. They're like, oh yeah, they got an answer for everything. Like the blue chicken was this tall, right? And they said exactly this to me, and then they want humanity to do this, and they want you to do that, and the price of my course is $300. And I'm going to stop right there. Anyway, just saying.
Well, yeah, I mean, I yeah, absolutely, Mike. You know,
yeah,
really, you're driving nails.
I'm just saying.
You know, I mean, honestly, I mean, how much have we hidden and covered up, and how many people have died? You know, what did the guy that was just there to fix the hangar door do, or build the hangar? Why the fuck do you have me out in the middle of the goddamn desert building you a hangar? Is what all the people on that job would have been saying when they were doing it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, HB's got it. It's not a point to hang up how old she was. It's just we're pointing out we didn't do this for any part of the whole show, so that's why we're pointing out, like, kind of doing the rough math here. But okay, so all that
timeline, the real timeline.
Exactly.
You know, this stuff is had pre-1950. You know.
Yeah.
If you got married if you eloped in the Catholic Church in 1950, you were shunned. You got kicked out of the church. You know, I mean, just the stupid things that were going through people's minds back then. You know, I mean, thank God we've become a little bit more liberal because of it. You know, but I mean, it's just the little things that, when you look back in time at the history of what was going on back then, you have to look at all of it. You know, people didn't talk about aliens. I can't remember who it was, and, you know, one of the callers that brought it up. It was like he could have been shunned.
Yeah.
Of it, you know, all of his other information that he was so. I'm sorry, Mike. I'm keeping you.
You're fine. Hey, I'm in no hurry, brother. I'm in no hurry. Mrs. Strange is here. Luna's laying down.
It is. It's so odd that
we're okay.
You know,
we're just hanging out, talking amongst friends. Yeah. Okay. So with all that stuff, don't worry. We're not in some dramatic hurry here. But so what do you think happened at Roswell then? What's your theory on this? Aliens or nah? Somewhere in between.
I would have to say somewhere in between, because there's, you know, the Nazi stories and stuff like that, you know, experiments that they did to get in the low Earth orbit and blah, blah, blah. You know, I mean, there's tons and thousands. Aliens, and almost, I would rather it be aliens, you know, and I hope, for the sake of all of us, that we weren't the juice bags, as I try to tell the kids to say about people, because it's a little bit more polite, about how we treated them. You know, I mean, we did get them coffins. You know, if you look at some of those kind of stories, you know, they died, we buried them. You know, the same tradition that we do here, whether right or wrong for them. You know, I guess there's some aspects that we try to be respectful about it, and I would hope that would be more of the case, you know, that we went down the right road. And we lie about it now just because people would probably really poop their pants if, you know, how would we really react if, you know, they showed up tomorrow afternoon in their city-sized thing orbiting us, you know?
People's pants would be pooped. Let's just call it that.
Indeed.
Indeed. I can't agree more.
The guy from the Stargate show. I can't remember what he is. The guy that's carrying around the symbiote.
Oh, that would be Christopher Judge Teal'c, because I'm watching the show.
Yes.
And I know.
That's a fantastic show. That really is. That really makes your mind wander.
I'm halfway into season 3, and I got to admit, it just keeps getting better and better. But I got to tell you, if you're watching SG1, the first 6 episodes, it is cringe bad.
Lame.
It is bad. I was like, whoa, what the F are we getting into here? And you got to force yourself.
Campy.
Yeah, super campy. But yeah, it gets better and better and better. So I'm halfway through season 3. Teal'c, Christopher Judge. Yeah, this symbiote. Yes. Okay. So aliens or not?
Yeah, they're probably aliens. The portal thing. I agree with Joe and how there's no way you're spending that much money on gas. You gotta watch Mike Strange's thing in the pinned messages about the cube and the ball and the bending it just a fuzz.
If you haven't seen that,
it would be so much cheaper.
Join the Discord. Join the Discord.
Money.
Not me making money, but
no. But that's the thing is it's all about the money. I mean, think about how much gas you'd have to do that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Why not just spend the time? If you're going to spend the money on figuring out how to use the gas, why wouldn't you spend the money on figuring out how to bend the time?
Let's just bend the time. Hell yeah. Let's bend it. Let's bend it to where Michael Strange had just a little bit less gray hair. That would be sweet. But it's all good. I'm okay. I'm happy where I'm at, and that's the most important.
God. It's in my mustache now, Mike. I was shaving the other day, and I let it go for a couple of days because we're wearing masks at work and stuff.
Yeah.
Not because of the mandate, but because of the lead. And I didn't shave it. I was like, oh my gosh, my mustache is gray.
It's okay.
I'm getting old.
It's okay. We're
going to be Santa Claus. I'm a grandpa. I'm up there with Algo. I don't have a Twitter. Damn it, Rohan. Put your podcast on Twitter.
I don't tweet.
I do now.
I do.
Thanks, Rohan.
I do now. All right, guys. Now this is the deal. We're wrapping this up. Jay, you got an outro for us? Let's do this.
And it's a short, sweet, and to the point one.
Okay, wait.
I gotta find it.
Outro music. All right. So this is the deal. We usually do what we affectionately call a J-tro. This is Jay in New York, and Jay brings an outro quote that is relevant to the show and relevant to our thoughts, and to pin us down, give us something to hope for tomorrow. And they're mostly uplifting because Jay's a fantastic guy. So this is the J-tro, and we're going to give him a little bit of music, and he's going to tell us his quote. So here we go. As we wrap this up and finish, let's roll it, my friend.
You don't become enlightened by imagining the figures of light, but entering the darkness where it begins. And that's by some Jung. That's all his name is, Jung.
Hey man, one day I'm going to have one name. I'm going to change it. I'm going to be like, you call me Teal'c. Something, I don't know. I'm gonna be like one day. It's gonna be one name.
That's what we're gonna tell you.
One name, perfect. Two names, no, way too much. Yeah. J-Rod.
I'm just Jay.
I'm just Jay.
That's me.
J-Rod. You're now J-Rod. All right. Here's what we're gonna do as we wrap this up. All right, I don't know what's up with Einstein and Roswell, but probably neither do you, and that's okay because that's why we get together and talk about this. But it's back. I guess it was a thing back in 1993. I was a young lad in 1993, and I'm not going to tell you what I was doing in 1993 because you would disapprove. So we're going to just pretend like it didn't happen, and we're going to learn something tonight together. And it's going to be, well, apparently that the claim was made that Roswell had not only Albert Einstein, but his close assistant, they're communicating with aliens. So there we go. Get the hell out of here. Final thought, Jay. Let's do it.
Let's just go out and learn as much as we can.
Yes, agreed 100%. And just don't be locked in. Just because somebody tells you something is right or they have the answer, be skeptical. Be cautiously, hopefully skeptical, right? Not just skeptical like an asshole. Cautiously, hopefully skeptical. Too many answers.
The most
also dangerous.
Stupidest question never asked was, that's the one, man.
That's the one.
The most stupidest question is the one never asked.
There you go. There it is. All right. So as we finish, the bad news is we're done for tonight. The good news is, God willing, we have tomorrow. Troubled Minds will be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern, and we're going to be talking about more whack shit. It's coming, you'll see. I promise you. And hopefully you're not disappointed. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for all the amazing chat. Thanks for all the amazing calls. Thank you again to Lacey, who subbed up to Patreon, and an anonymous donor who subbed up to Patreon as well. Appreciate that, you guys. Each and every one of you, thank you for listening. Thanks for spreading the word. Thanks for all the amazing phone calls we always get. Please follow Rohan, his podcast, the Exiled Minds podcast. Please follow Jennifer's channel. Please follow Algorithm. Please follow Phil Christopher's channel. Please follow Penny Bunny. Everybody down below. James Salcido Paranormal. Everybody click the links down below. Get your ass there and give love to these people. They're here every night. It's becoming a group. It's becoming a thing. Spread the love. You want more great information? It's out there. It's out there. Get the hell out of here. All right, Jay. Where's your howl, brother? Woo! It's a little harder when it's not a full moon. But we're going to do it. Thanks for listening. Mark Troubled Minds to yours. Have a great night.
Wet chihuahuas.
See you guys on the Discord.